economic situation, Dr. Singh's strategy could keep India largely isolated, from the negatives of the economic crisis of 2008.
Right.
So I think the list is long. I have so much of respect for this man. I can't even, I don't have words to describe it fully,
Absolutely. Stay on with us, Mr. Krishna and Dr. Work. Let me quickly bring in my colleague Shreya, who's joining us from the Nigam Bodh Ghat. Shreya, now we are getting in visuals of the funeral convoy heading towards Nigam Bodh Ghat. We are seeing the top leaders that are accompanying the convoy as well. Rahul Gandhi can be seen sitting in the convoy. Take us through the preparations there right outside Nigam Bodh Ghat as the last rites are about to take place in perhaps in just another half an hour.
Well, of course, we can see, the VIP senior leaders coming in. We just spoke to Delhi Congress Chief Devendra Yadav, and you can see the preparations are in full swing, and soon we will be bearing Dr. Singh's mortal remains flanked by military personnel here at the Nigam Bodh Ghat very soon. And we know for a fact that a large number of military, paramilitary forces have been deployed. Security has been beefed up, and very soon we will be seeing the funeral procession. And I'm also joined by a foreign dignitary writer. So please introduce yourself and please tell me your memory of Dr. Manmohan Singh.
See, I am here today to be part. I am the Charge of Affairs of Palestine Embassy. I am based here in Delhi since 2014.
How will you remember Dr. Manmohan?
I will tell you. It is not personal member. It's Palestinian member. Today I am coming here to be part of his funeral by the name of the President of Palestine, Mahmoud Abbas, His Excellency, and we send an official condolence letter to the Prime Minister of India, remembering the effort of Mr. Manmohan Singh, and also we present our condolence to the President of Congress Party. He has a long journey, valuable journey to support Palestinian cause in politician things and in finance things. When he's a Prime Minister, he's 2008, he's given us land in Chenekaburi to money to support and to make this valuable place to Palestinian in Chenekaburi. Then he, former Prime Minister with the President of Palestine together, they are in September 2012. So we have long time of relationship with him as an Indian politician.
Have you ever personally met him?
No, I have never met him, but most of our leaders has met him. And first meeting is in 1992 when the leaders of PLO, Yasser Arafat, coming to Delhi, when the Prime Minister Nassim Rao, he's union.
That just goes on to show the magnanimous global stature of Dr. Manmohan Singh, his contribution to not only the country but also worldwide. Here the situation is getting chaotic, as we can see the security getting tightened up. We will soon see the gun carriage draped in the national flag bearing Dr. Manmohan Singh's mortal remains arriving here as we bid him goodbye. The final journey from here to heavenly abodes, and soon we will see Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, President Draupadi Murmu, along with other leaders arriving here. And of course we can see that everybody is here. They are mourning the profound loss of the modern the maker of modern India's economy, and the man who definitely steered India into its 21st century, who brought about not only economic, political reforms but also social reforms. The nation might bid him goodbye for the final time, but his legacy remains, his political, social legacy remains. The kind of initiatives that he brought about, including the RTI, RT, Manrega, Aadhaar, these different initiatives that revolutionized India once and for all. These are his legacy for people to remember, and of course his life in itself has been incredibly inspiring. If one reads his daughter's biography, his daughter's book, a biography on Dr. Manmohan Singh and his wife. It's called Strictly Personal. It shows how a struggle-filled life he's led, but he rose through the ranks through his determination and grit. A person who saw the ravages of partition and then went on to become a leading statesman, a man who brought about so many changes in a conflict-filled country like India. That just goes on to show the politician that he was, a man who was never elected as a Prime Minister but appointed for 2 continuous terms from 2004 to 2014. Right now we are awaiting his mortal remains. Here you can see people entering, foreign dignitaries and visitors entering Nigambodh Ghat to pay to Dr. Singh, India's 14th Prime Minister, a man of quiet dignity, a technocrat, an economist turned politician. He was also a professor at the Delhi School of Economics, and I have my friends there who are also continuously, conducting a mourning period there. They are paying their condolences to Dr. Manmohan Singh. We saw leaders across party lines pouring their heartfelt condolences to the family. He was 92 years of age. He was going through.
Right.
Now
Shreya there at the Nigambodh Ghat, where remember the mortal remains of Dr. Singh are just going to reach in a couple of minutes perhaps. Visuals that are coming in, of course, are of the convoy, the funeral convoy of Dr. Singh, with top leaders are accompanying as well. Dignitaries have already reached Nigambodh Ghat, is what we're learning as far as the ground situation is concerned. I'm being joined by Dr. Vark, who's still with us. Sir, now, do you think that the economic background of Dr. Singh had influenced greatly the way that he dealt with his international diplomacy?
Best example I just saw on your screen, Singapore country, they also bowed down they put the flag down,
right,
half the thing, and Mr. Biden said he's a true statesman. So I think that's the best examples. Every leader of the world and they understand the value of India and what Dr. Manmohan Singh did for India as in 2008 when all the global crisis happening. So that's that all the world leaders, including our former Prime Minister Tony Abbott. I spoke to him this morning. He is also economist from Oxford, and he sometimes tells me when he became Prime Minister of the country in 2013, he also listened to those speeches of Manmohan Singh and a lot of things. What they, when world leaders listening to Indian leaders, it is not a small thing. Please understand. I live in Australia for last 20 years. The big statements. So that's what Manmohan Singh was the only, if I may say, if the only Prime Minister of India independence after 1947 who is very well respected as a person, as an economist, as a politician, or as a statesman. He was very widely respected worldwide, and that's what we also feel respect the same way when our NREs we live in Australia, Canada, US. And my prayers and my condolences from every NRI who is countries like Australia, Canada, US, and various all countries, and our condolences. And we feel proud. We feel so proud. Dr. Manmohan Singh is a Indian former Indian Prime Minister, and is a great, and we feel proud in that. And the people who are following his footsteps, people like Geeta Gopinath, who is chief economist at IMF.
देखिए, चिट्ठी लिखने का स्थिति आनी नहीं चाहिए थी। बिना चिट्ठी लिखे हुए ही केंद्र सरकार खुद को आगे आकर के फैसला करना चाहिए था। हम सच सम्मान इनका स्मारक यहाँ बनेगा, दाह संस्कार होगा, जैसे वाजपेयी जी का कैसे हुआ है। वो तो उनकी पार्टी के नेता थे, ये 10 साल मुख्य प्रधानमंत्री रहे अभी तो। जी बिल्कुल। और इनका जीवन देखिए ना, जो इनका व्यक्तित्व कर्तृत्व है वो निराला है, देश में निराला है, लीक से हटके हैं। वो जिंदगी जीना 50-60 साल तक पब्लिक के लिए, वो अपना की बड़ी मिसाल है, बेमिसाल है।
अशोक गहलोत जी, बीजेपी कह रही है कि कांग्रेस राजनीति कर रही है और जमीन देने की बात और स्मारक की बात तो पहले ही हो चुकी है।
ये तो वो झूठ बोलते हैं, ये तो हमारी शिकायत उनसे है। आपने गलती की तो गलती स्वीकार कर लो। पहले हम नहीं सोच पाए हैं, हम आपकी भावना का आदर करते हैं, आपकी मांग है हम उसको मंजूर करते हैं, तो ज्यादा उनका इज्जत मान सम्मान बढ़ता बीजेपी का।
आप लोग कहाँ चाहते हैं स्मारक बने?
वो तो उनकी सरकार प्रपोज तो करती ही, परिवार उनको कहता भी हम चाहते हैं यहाँ होता अच्छा रहेगा। फैसला करना गवर्नमेंट को होता है, कदम उनकी चलती है।
Your thoughts on Dr. Manmohan Singh?
Ashok Gehlot there talking about the memorial that is set to be built for Dr. Singh.
आज याद आता है what we are feeling today, at least myself.
Right, we'll bring you more reactions, of course, that are coming in from the ground. Dr. Work, there we are seeing, of course, there are reactions coming in from the ground as well. But Dr. Work, if you're still with us, I'd like to ask you about how Dr. Singh navigated the issue of border politics as well, you know, when it comes to China and leading the global south. Right, all right. We'll try and bring in Dr. Work as well as reactions coming in from the ground. But what you heard just earlier was Ashok Gehlot, Congress leader, talking about the memorial that is set to be built for Dr. Singh. And remember, the Congress has been pushing time and again for the memorial to be built at Rajghat. They were also earlier pushing for the last rites to be done at the Rajghat. But as of now, the mortal remains are being transported to Nigambodh Ghat, where the last rites and military honours will be given for Dr. Singh. We'll continue tracking these details.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Mahakumbh, a festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival, the divine dip at the spiritual Sangam, a sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
NDTV shines with 38 prestigious wins at the News Television Awards 2024. Powerful journalism to cutting-edge digital innovation, production excellence to regional leadership. NDTV sets the benchmark. 38 awards, each a testament to your trust in NDTV. NDTV stands for trust.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
Download any single ID partner app, link your card and earn reward with top brand.
Get it free with single ID.
have been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Mahakumbh, a festival of faith. The world's biggest spiritual festival. The divine dip at the spiritual Sangam. A sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
2024, the year that was, when India welcomed Ram. When India decided,
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी,
when Jammu and Kashmir turned a historic leaf,
as Chief Minister for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir,
when India mourned, when India celebrated, when India protested, when India felt proud, when India scaled new highs, NDTV brought it all to you, your trusted news destination, yesterday, today and tomorrow.
A very warm welcome to the first edition of the NDTV Emerging Business Conclave 2024.
एमएसएमई विभाग एक महत्वपूर्ण विभाग है.
We have to think about what is brand India. India will always stand for democracy. We will always be one of the largest investors in the world.
It is also very, very important that these MSMEs grow.
We are seeing that women are coming up in many other sectors apart from the traditional sectors.
New day, new show, a new experience. Start your day with the news.
So thanks. Here I have with me somebody who has, worked very closely with Dr. Manmohan Singh's office in those years as political secretary to Sheila Dixit. How do you, your thoughts and
it's a glorious era that comes to an end, and unfortunately they don't make such leaders anymore. Cutting across party lines, I think Dr. Manmohan Singh stood tall for the values of integrity, humility, simplicity that he carried all his life. You were part of that entire time, critical period when the UPA saw a lot of turmoil with Sheila Dixit, the Commonwealth Games, the Shunglu Committee report, Dr. Singh setting it up, and yet he stood by Sheila Dixit. I think what we need to appreciate is that Dr. Singh and Mrs. Dixit always stood for being correct in public life. So the correctness of conduct is something which both these leaders had. And a lot of our leaders definitely have. And so that era that you're talking about, yes, it was a tumultuous era, but everybody behaved in a very correct manner. Dr. Singh said, and as you all put it out in your advertisement today, history will be kinder to him. Do you believe that is now coming true?
Sunil, people have already, over the last 10 years, started comparing. And that comparison, I'm sorry, this government will not be able to avoid. Comparisons will happen, they always happen. Dr. Singh stands tall. There's no doubt about that. In his silence, he achieved a lot, much more than all these people shouting around from morning to evening.
One last point, unnecessary controversy about the memorial.
It's avoidable, and I think the onus of avoiding these controversies lies at the doorstep of the government.
You feel that the memorial...
Obviously. He's the greatest, one of the greatest sons of India.
जहां तक हमारी सरकार का प्रश्न है, प्रधानमंत्री श्री मोदी जी की सरकार ने दलगत भावना से ऊपर उठकर सभी नेताओं को सम्मान दिया है। कांग्रेस पार्टी के 3 नेताओं को भारत रत्न दिया है, मदन मोहन मालवीय जी, पीवी नरसिम्हा राव जी और प्रणब मुखर्जी जी। कांग्रेस के अनेक नेताओं को पद्म अवार्ड दिया है, जिसमें एससी जमीर और तरुण गोगोई जी हैं। सरदार पटेल की सबसे ऊंची मूर्ति बनाई है। इससे बहुत स्पष्ट है कि जहां एक तरफ श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में भारतीय जनता पार्टी और एनडीए की सरकार सभी महानुभावों को, महापुरुषों को, जिन्होंने देश में कोई भी योगदान दिया है, उसके प्रति उनको इतिहास में उचित स्थान देने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। इसीलिए हमने प्रधानमंत्री संग्रहालय बनाकर देश के सभी प्रधानमंत्रियों को इतिहास में उचित स्थान दिलाने के लिए और उनका सम्मान दिलाने के लिए वह व्यवस्था बनाई है, जिसमें अधिकांश कांग्रेस के ही प्रधानमंत्री हैं।
बहुत सज्जन थे, हमारे देश के लिए एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण प्रधानमंत्री हमें मिले थे, कि जो सबका सुनते थे और गरीबों की बात हमेशा करते थे। उन्होंने फूड स्कीम निकाली, उन्होंने आधार कार्ड निकाला और वो हमेशा के लिए गरीबों के लिए ध्यान देते थे।
देखो, स्टार्ट नहीं हुआ है, हमारी मांग है ये कि मेमोरियल के लिए जगह देनी चाहिए सरकार को। अगर वाजपेयी साहब को जगह दे सकते हैं तो डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह को जगह क्यों नहीं मिल सकती। और इकलौते सिख थे और ऐसे व्यक्ति थे जिनको पूरा देश, चाहे ऑपोजिशन के लोग थे, चाहे दुनिया में कोई और व्यक्ति था, वो सब मानते थे कि डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह की बहुत बड़ी देन इस देश को है, दुनिया को है।
Manmohan Singh has made it very clear before he died that the media and the opposition party will have to remember him. Every part of every single citizen of this country has to remember him on whatever the works he has done for the country. He has done on a giving on rights through the constitution. So everyone is getting that benefit. So he has looked at every section of the society.
Yesterday, sir, Kharge need to speak with government to allocate a memorial site.
Of course, that is the need of the hour. I hope a good mind will prevail upon them and give whatever the request of the Congress party.
Thank you.
देखिए, उनके एक स्वच्छ छवि को भी दाग लगाने की कोशिश की गई, फिर भी वो विचलित नहीं हुए, वो डगमगाए नहीं। अपना काम देश के प्रति ईमानदारी से करना, यही वो समझते थे। और कभी रिवेंज पॉलिटिक्स उनके कभी छुई भी नहीं। काम करना, देश को आगे बढ़ाना और ईमानदारी के साथ बढ़ाना, यही उनका काम था।
एक बहुत वाजिब उन्होंने बात, एक सुझाव दिया है, और क्योंकि इतना लंबा समय इन्होंने देश की सेवा की है, तो वाजिब बनता है ये बात कि उनके लिए एक अलग कहीं उनका मेमोरियल बना होना चाहिए। ये बिल्कुल वाजिब है। एक युग पुरुष थे, एक कर्म योगी थे, और उनके साथ तो एक युग खत्म हुआ है, तो इस कारण ये सरकार को बनता ही है कि उनको ऐसी अलग जगह दिया जाए।
My colleague Shreya joins us from the Nigambodh Ghat. Shreya, now we're getting in visuals of the funeral convoy almost about to reach the Ghat there. Take us to the preparations there. When can we expect the convoy to be reaching?
Well, in the next couple of minutes, we will see the funeral procession of Dr. Manmohan Singh arriving at the Nigambodh Ghat. You can see the situation outside here is getting chaotic. Security has been beefed up. Several leaders are stepping in. We saw Delhi Congress Chief Delhi Congress chief arriving, then also stepping into the Nigambod Ghat to pay the final respect to Dr. Manmohan Singh. Within a couple of minutes, we will see the carriage bearing the moral remains of Dr. Manmohan Singh, flanked by military personnel coming here. A large number of military, paramilitary forces have been deployed. Delhi police is here, and a large number of SPG, Special Protection Group officials, are also inside. As you can see the visuals, and also the military forces are standing there in guard of honor to welcome the dignitaries. We spoke to several foreign dignitaries who of course, political social legacy left behind by Dr. Manmohan Singh. We know that the last religious rites were performed at the AICC headquarters, and the final cremation will take place here at Nigambod Ghat.
Right, Shreya. Thank you for joining us and bringing us those details. These, of course, are visuals coming in as the convoy heads towards Nigambod Ghat. Remember, top military honours will be presented for Dr. Singh, the 14th former Prime Minister that India had. Remember, the Prime Minister, the President, Vice President will be paying respects, laying wreath before the last rites take place. We're expecting that to take place at around 11:45. And as of now, it seems that the events are taking place as per schedule. We're also getting in visuals of top leaders entering Nigambod Ghat. You can also see visuals of security deployment outside of Nigambod Ghat as the VIPs enter there. We're also going to be seeing Defence Minister as well as chiefs of various defence forces that are going to be laying wreath first. That's of course how the last rites are going to be starting with military honours for Dr. Singh. Post that, the Prime Minister, the President, the Vice President, as well as Lok Sabha Speaker will be paying their respects as well. Remember, Dr. Singh is one of those few leaders who are respected and revered across party lines. We're seeing not just Congress leaders whom he works closely with, but also leaders from other parties who are paying respects for him. Not just that, world leaders as well are mourning his death, are sharing their anecdotes of Dr. Singh and what he was revered for. Not only his economic intellect, but his way of dealing with the media and criticism that came his way as well. Stories for you. For now, a short break.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh passes away at 92. State funeral shortly. Politics over Dr. Singh's memorial. Congress demands appropriate location. Government ensures to allocate separate space. ED summons BRS working President KTR in the Formula E race case. Donald Trump raises concerns over China's expanding influence in the Panama Canal.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number 1 in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
We are able to maintain the democratic fabric and the democratic system.
I want to do something that can make a difference.
लगातार जनता की आवाज को सरकार तक पहुंचाने का काम मैं करता हूं.
I was a student up until very recently. I really want to work and do something for my people because they have given me this opportunity. They have elected me.
सोचा नहीं था कि राज्यसभा सांसद बनूंगी.
Mahakumbh, a festival of faith. The world's biggest spiritual festival. The divine dip at the spiritual Sangam. A sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
NDTV shines with 38 prestigious wins at the News Television Awards 2024. Powerful journalism to cutting-edge digital innovation. Production excellence to regional leadership. NDTV sets the benchmark. 38 awards, each a testament to your trust in NDTV. NDTV stands for trust.
In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
This week on India Ascends.
Will Myanmar's junta chiefs see the same fate as Syria's Bashar al-Assad? Beijing in limbo as Xi's purge extends to his own men. How Trudeau's own misgivings are likely to become his end. And broken souls in a broken system, why young Wall Street bankers are getting by using ADHD pills.
All this and more only on India Ascends with me, Gauri Dwivedi, at these timings on the NDTV network.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Mahakumbh, a festival of faith. The world's biggest spiritual festival. The divine dip at the spiritual Sangam. A sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
2024, the year that was, when India welcomed Ram. When India decided,
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी,
when Jammu and Kashmir turned a historic leaf,
as Chief Minister for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir,
when India mourned, when India celebrated, when India protested, when India felt proud, when India scaled new highs. NDTV brought it all to you, your trusted news destination, yesterday, today and tomorrow.
A very warm welcome to the first edition of the NDTV Emerging Business Conclave 2024.
MSME विभाग
एक महत्वपूर्ण विभाग है।
We have to think about what is brand India. India will always stand for democracy. We will always be one of the largest investors in the world.
It is also very, very important that these MSMEs grow.
We are seeing that women are coming up in many other sectors apart from the traditional sectors.
The nation is bidding farewell to former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh. His mortal remains are being taken to the Nigambodh Ghat, where the last rites will take place with full military honour. We'll bring you the latest updates from the ground on his last journey. But first, the headlines. Former Prime Minister and architect of India's modern economy, Dr. Manmohan Singh, passes away at the age of 92. State funeral to be held shortly. Politics over Dr. Singh's memorial. Congress demands appropriate location. Government ensures to allocate separate space. Formula E race case haunts KTR. ED summons BRS working president KTR to appear before ED on the 7th of January. US President-elect Donald Trump has raised concerns about China's expanding influence in the Panama Canal region, criticizing high fee and suggesting a return to US control. And the Nitish Sundar duo help India claw back in a century stand. The young guns save India from embarrassment.
Well, I can tell you 100% this is going to be the first.
India mourns the loss of one of its most revered leaders, Dr. Manmohan Singh, who passed away on Thursday night. Former Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, widely recognized as the architect of India's economic reforms, especially since the early 1990s, was 92 years old when he passed away. 7-day state mourning has been declared and all flags are flying at half-mast as tributes pour in from across the world. In fact, several nations like Singapore are flying their flags at half-mast in honor of the former Prime Minister as well. As the 13th Prime Minister of India, serving from 2004 to 2014, Dr. Singh left an indelible mark on the country's history. The mortal remains of Singh were at the AICC headquarters in New Delhi, where several leaders had laid wreath and had paid their last respects. Before now, as the visuals are coming in of the funeral convoy that's being taken to Nigambodh Ghat, where the last rites would be taking place with full military honours as well. So the former Prime Minister will be paid tribute to by several leaders, top leaders, including Prime Minister, President, Vice President as well. I'm being joined at this moment by Sunil Prabhu, joining us from the Congress headquarters, as well as Shreya from Nigambodh Ghat. Let me bring in Sunil first. Sunil, now we are learning that the mortal remains are about to reach Nigambodh Ghat in just a few minutes perhaps, where the last rites will take place.
That's right. As we speak, the Chief of the Armed Forces, the Naval Chief, as well as the Air Force Chief have left from here in the central Delhi towards Nigambodh Ghat, and as the mortal remains of Dr. Manmohan Singh arrive at Nigambodh Ghat for his final, cremation, I think everybody cutting across party lines. We've seen the last 3 days, ever since the news of his passing away, tributes being pouring in, not only nationally but internationally, and about the legacy that he lived. As he said, hopefully history will be kinder to him. I think today, as we have seen in the last 3 days, history has been kinder, even prompting the government to say that a befitting memorial will be put in place for Dr. Manmohan Singh, who's seen as the father of economic reforms, in helping India get a strategic place. So that was the role of Dr. Manmohan Singh, a minority Sikh Prime Minister, who held the office for 2 consecutive terms and has been the first Prime Minister since Nehru to get a second consecutive time. Let's remember, he was a minority Sikh Prime Minister, backed and controlled a coalition government, a very, very different era of which we don't see ever happen again. So it's definitely something that is epoch-making, and as generations will take a long time to understand that there was such a simple, humble and good human being who held the highest office, and that was his trademark of being simple and humble.
Absolutely, Sunil, but there seems to be politics that's erupting on the background as well over the memorial for Dr. Singh, where Congress has been time and again pushing for a memorial at the Rajghat, and they have made comparisons with Vajpayee, so there seems to be some back and forth, although the centre has said that they will allocate a separate area for where the memorial will be made.
That's right. It's an unfortunate, state of affairs that definitely has taken place. But the fact is that, irrespective, finally, that whether a former Prime Minister should have been in the Rajghat precincts instead of Nigombod Ghat as a resting place, is it really about a trust or an issue about allocating space? But that being said, I think we'll leave that controversy for another day. The fact of the matter is that Dr. Manmohan Singh would have last wanted it. He was a simple man, he was a humble man, and they have assured the Congress party as well as its president that they will definitely be giving a space so that people of this country could remember that there was a Sikh Prime Minister who took India to a different height, created a great Indian middle class, which will be very difficult to emulate for anybody in recent times.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sunil, for joining us and bringing us those details. I'm also being joined by my colleague Shreya, who's joining us from Nigombod Ghat. Shreya, we're expecting the funeral convoy to reach Nigombod Ghat shortly, where the last rites will take place with full military honour, where we are learning that most of the top dignitaries have already reached the Ghat.
To see the flower-decked vehicle, the carriage bearing Dr. Singh's mortal remains arriving here. You can see the police forces have tightened the security right outside the Nigombod Ghat as senior leaders come in. We've spoken to several foreign dignitaries as well who have only that Dr. Manmohan Singh has left behind. We can see the military and paramilitary forces that have been deployed, the military forces that are standing, as a guard of honor to welcome all the dignitaries who are here to final home last to Dr. Manmohan Singh. This is where the cremation will take place at around 11:45. Soon the carriage, bearing Dr. Manmohan Singh draped in the national flag will be here. The entire road has been cleared up. As you can see, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to come from this route.
Right, my colleague Shreya there at the Nigombod Ghat, as she was explaining, the security arrangements are in place. Most of the dignitaries already there at Nigombod Ghat. We are expecting that the Prime Minister and President as well as Vice President will be arriving soon as well. Remember, they're going to be paying their respects as well. And at around 11:45 is when we're expecting the last rites and cremation will take place. The visuals on your screen, of course, are of the funeral convoy that is expected to reach the Nigombod Ghat shortly. I'm being joined by senior journalists Aarti Jairat and Aditi Fadnis. Thank you for joining us. Let me start off with Aarti Jairat. Ma'am, in terms of criticisms, unfortunately, Dr. Singh was on the receiving end of several criticism that came along his way during his tenure. One of those being that he could have done more in terms of corruption or curbing corruption, and then, there was criticism of that sort of overshadowing his achievements, ma'am.
In hindsight, actually, in retrospect, much of the corruption cloud that hung over the second term of his government has turned out actually to be false. The biggest one being the 2G scam, which was pegged at some 1,78,000 crores, a figure which None of us could even imagine how many zeros are in that figure. But, now, we find that that figure was highly, highly exaggerated. And, the author of that report, he himself has admitted that he may have erred. So, as I think Manmohan Singh has said, and it's been repeated again and again, history will be kinder to him, and history will be kinder to him because now, in retrospect, we're finding that much of that corruption scam has turned out to be untrue. It was exaggerated, used by political opponents to taint the government, to taint, the Congress. And, and it's very sad because it led to policy paralysis, and after years of high growth, we recorded perhaps the highest growth during his tenure. But the last 2 years of that tenure period, unfortunately, saw a slump because of policy paralysis caused by these scandals, which now we find some of them actually had no basis.
Absolutely. Aditi Fadnis, speaking of criticism that Dr. Singh received, one of the other things that was being told about him is that, the Sonia Gandhi government or the Congress government was the one that was dictating his actions, and that he did not, come out with stronger, statements or stronger decisions. But when you talk about the key decisions that he made, especially the financial crisis of 2008 and his economic decisions, you can clearly see that his erudite knowledge of economics is the driving force behind major key decisions that he's taken as well.
Well, in a government, when there are two centers of power, there will inevitably be people who will try and, play both sides to the middle. So, naturally, there were people who wanted things to be done. And they said, they used to tell him, they used to tell the PMO that we've spoken to Madam, she has agreed to this and you should go ahead with it. PMO was not likely to ring up Madam and ask whether she had indeed assented. So there were a whole lot of things that happened because of that. But I think mainly Dr. Manmohan Singh's personal honesty and personal integrity can never be questioned by anyone. A senior bureaucrat is reported to have posted that when he did as finance minister, when he did the devaluation, he handed over the government a check for the balance of the difference between his foreign earnings and post and pre-devaluation. Obviously, devaluation meant that the rupee had become weaker, and therefore those who were earning $1 salary would have earned more in rupee terms than they would have done before the devaluation. He gave a check to the government of India for this amount because he felt that he had inside knowledge of the devaluation when it was to come. Obviously, he did it himself, so he knew it was going to happen. And he did not want to profit by a decision that he has taken as Manmohan Singh, the finance minister. So these are all things that stand out. They belong to, they belong to, I think, maybe a different era. I'm not sure if you will see that kind of thing happening today. And that is what made him stand out. And that is why even his bitter critics, including the left parties, are now paying tribute to him. They were part of his government for a while. Even they are paying now tribute to him, because you cannot deny his contribution to India's economy, on stabilizing India's economy at a time when it was badly needed.
Right. Aarti Jairath, now, can we call this an end of an era? Because Deve Gowda seems to be the only surviving former Prime Minister now after Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Well, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi came to power in 2014, I think that really marked the end of an era, because it was the end of the coalition era. For, about 20, 30 years before that, we had seen coalition government after coalition government after coalition, some of them very unstable, which fell in a couple of years. And then, one full-term government run by Vajpayee, and then two full-term governments run by Dr. Singh. And now we are back to single party rule. I don't know whether we will go back to a coalition era ever. So, yes, I mean, the passing away of Manmohan Singh is definitely, the end of that era of politics. But, I would like to also, bring in one more point that apart from his contribution on the to the economy and on the economic front and, making India now a global player, in terms of economy and trade, apart from that, one other very significant contribution he made was to end, the nuclear apartheid against India by signing that civil nuclear deal with the United States. That, although it didn't gain us entry into that elite NSG club, many of the restrictions that were placed by the NSG on transfer of high-end technology to India were removed because of that deal, because the United States really pushed for it, when the NSG met. And because those restrictions have been lifted, we are today in a position to, for instance, one of the, big showpieces of the Modi government is that India is now going to be manufacturing semiconductors. And that has only happened because we now have access to that kind of technology, which would never have happened had he not pushed that nuclear deal. And the nuclear deal is one instance of which, when everybody says that he was a puppet prime minister and so on, he stood his ground on that because he felt it was in India's national interest to gain access to all the technology that had been denied it for decades. And he stood his ground to the extent that he gave an interview saying that if his government falls, if the left wants to withdraw support, so be it. He was ready to sacrifice his government for that. So yes, it is the end of an era, not just in terms of politics, but I think in the kind of politics, a man who's ready to give up his government for a principle or a policy that he genuinely believes is in the national interest. It's difficult to conceive of having that kind of a leader again.
Absolutely. Aditi Fadnis, now talking about India's rural-urban divide, do you think as an economist turned politician, Dr. Singh played a major role in bridging that divide?
Well, there are many divides and those divides continue to exist. So yeah, he played his part. The right to information, although it is not leveraged or used that much, can actually could have had, as it was envisaged, could have had a profound impact on recognition of government programs and so on. Much more than this was his contribution to the whole idea of Aadhaar, which was an idea which started in his tenure, but found fruition much later. So there are so many things that he laid the foundations for, which helped rural India, particularly the Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Guarantees Program, so many other things that he laid the foundations for, which helped us a lot in later years, simply because the rural reality of India was something that he appreciated as an economist.
Absolutely. Stay on with us. We are, of course, getting in visuals of top leaders arriving at the Nigambodh Ghat. Remember, that's where the last rites of Dr. Singh will take place. The funeral convoy we're expecting will reach Nigambodh Ghat in just a couple of minutes, where top dignitaries will be paying their respects. That, of course, includes Prime Minister Modi, President Murmu, as well as Vice President, as well as Lok Sabha Speaker, who will be paying respects, laying wreath. This also includes several chiefs of the defense forces there, as well as military honours will be presented to Dr. Singh. Let me bring in Aarti Jairat. Ma'am, do you think the end of nuclear apartheid as a decision was one that was taken by an economist Prime Minister?
Yes, of course. That was completely scripted by him, so this is the interesting thing, that although, we go on and on about him being an economist and, his contribution to India, to opening up of India's economy, yes, there's no question that he did that, when he was finance minister during in the Narasimha Rao government. But, there is also this other aspect to him, which was a very keen understanding of international politics and diplomacy. And, he really is the one who, I think, the sort of foundation for that the burgeoning Indo-US relationship was laid by Prime Minister Vajpayee. But Manmohan Singh really built on that, with the result that today India is considered a very crucial strategic partner by the United States. And, and I think one of the main reasons why we see Prime Minister Modi paying such deep and, such warm tributes to Manmohan Singh is that, he does understand that, his government is, benefiting by the foundations that were laid during the tenure of Manmohan Singh. And, what Modi is being able to do is build on those foundations and accelerate the progress and development that we see today. So, it's all part of a process. And I think, this is something which future generations must understand, that it's not one man who contributes to the development of India. It is a series of leaders, one by one by one by one. They lay building blocks, and another comes and builds on that, and another comes and builds on that,
right,
and takes it higher and higher. And, I think the contribution of Manmohan Singh to the economy, to, India's international standing, these are things which really will be written in, golden letters in history.
Right. I think the funeral convoy there has almost reached the Nigambodh Ghat. We're getting in visuals of the funeral convoy sort of just entering the Nigambodh Ghat. Remember, top dignitaries have already arrived at Nigambodh Ghat to pay respects. Now, Aditi Fadnis, as Aarti Jairat was mentioning, it is a series of leaders that it takes to build a nation. But when you compare his leadership style with the others, right, what do you think made Dr. Singh stand out?
I think leadership styles are different for every leader. It reflects their personality. In his case, he was understated, but very much the leader and very much the leader of his Council of Ministers. There was a minister who was, I will not name him, he was charged with graft. And later, there was a lot, because he was heading a coalition government, there was a lot of pressure from coalition partners in his second term to take that leader back as minister. And he just refused. He said, I will not do that, because he's gone out under a cloud. Similarly, there was a minister who, midway through his term, very crucial, important ministry, fell ill and fell into a coma. And he was to remain in a coma for many years after that. His successor was appointed, but the successor began holding parties and celebrations to celebrate his new appointment. Dr. Manmohan Singh came to hear of this and basically told the president that thank you very much, I will take charge of this portfolio. So this was a way of letting people know that he did not appreciate people celebrating when a comrade of theirs was lying in hospital in a coma. So these are all things which stand out as memories which marked his leadership style. He almost never lost his temper. He would just listen expressionlessly to what you were saying. Occasionally, it was like a sword flashing in the light. He would come out with rapier sharp riposts, which you really did not expect, like his reading a sher to counter Sushma Swaraj's sher during a debate in Parliament. It really took everyone quite by surprise. Right. And these are the hallmarks of leadership, I guess, when you are not really a politician in the traditional sense.
Absolutely. And talking about his statesmanship, he did also not shy away from taking up ideas from other leaders, appreciating it. For example, he did take a lot of Vajpayee's ideas forward, like GST, but his government was the first to put GST on the agenda. Aarti Jairat. Aarti Jairat, ma'am, if you can hear me. Right, we'll try and get Aarti Jairat back on the broadcast, but Aditi Fadnis, would you like to take that question?
Sure. GST was a very, very important step. And it wasn't just GST. I mean, GST was one nation, one tax idea, which has vastly improved the speed and the felicity of decision making. But it wasn't just GST. It was so many other things that he consulted the opposition on. We know that he met Vajpayee both on the Indo-US civil nuclear deal. He met other leaders. He took ideas from them. When he did borrow ideas, he openly acknowledged that he had borrowed ideas from X, Y, or Z. For instance, I mean, the Prime Minister at that time, Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, acknowledged that Singapore had a very important role in his vision of liberalization, and Dr. Manmohan Singh endorsed that. Today, we find that Singapore has lowered its flag to half-mast in recognition of a foreign prime minister. These things don't happen easily.
Stay on with us, Aditi Fadnis. Let me quickly bring in my colleague Shreya, if she's there. But what we're learning is that as of now, the funeral convoy has reached Nigambodh Ghat. Remember, the last rites will be taking place shortly. What we are expecting is that it, of course, will start with the Defence Secretary laying wreath, and then the military honours, as per procedure, will take place. My colleague Shreya joins us on the broadcast. Shreya, take us to what's taking place on ground. We're learning that the funeral convoy has reached Nigambodh Ghat.
Yes, absolutely. You can see the session cremation side, the military
final rite will be performed with a military precision, a fitting service to a leader who has served the nation with a dedication and distinction, the architecture of India's modern economy, the hero of the Indian middle class. His cremation is about to take place here in North Delhi's Nigambodh Ghat. You can see the entire convoy, all the VIPs have arrived here. Soon you will see PM Narendra Modi, the President, Vice President, all of them arriving. The foreign dignitaries are already inside. You can see the security has been tightened up. The military paramilitary forces have been deployed. The Air Force, military forces are also inside. Here you can see this entire road has been, created for the exclusive movement of the VVIPs. We can also see Congress party workers moving around, saying that Dr. Manmohan Singh will live long, will live forever in the hearts of the people. He will be remembered with utmost kindness in people's hearts. And you can see that this entire area has been choked with the convoy of the leaders who are arriving here to pay the final homage to Dr. Manmohan Singh. We know that it will take place with proper military precision, and we also know that Rahul Gandhi is inside in the vehicle bearing Dr. Manmohan Singh's mortal remains, which is of course draped in the national flag, and we will see a proper state funeral being conducted for Dr. Manmohan Singh, who has left behind an incredible political, social and economic legacy for the people to see.
Right, Shreya, stay on with us. We'll come back to you as more developments take place, but the latest that we're tracking for you is that Dr. Singh's funeral convoy there has reached Nigambodh Ghat, where the last rites will take place. First, a short break.
New day, new show, a new experience. Start your day with the news. not views. We bring you stories that matter and impact your lives. News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From Maximum City, Mumbai,
To the seat of governance, Delhi, NDTV brings to you the best breakfast show. The breakfast show only on NDTV 24/7 every morning at 8 a.m.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
We are able to maintain the democratic fabric and the democratic system.
I want to do something that can make a difference.
लगातार जनता की आवाज को सरकार तक पहुंचाने का काम मैं करता हूं.
I was a student up until very recently. I really want to work and do something for my people because they have given me this opportunity. They have elected me.
सोचा नहीं था कि राज्यसभा सांसद बनूंगी.
Mahakumbh, a festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival, the divine dip at the spiritual Sangam, a sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
NDTV shines with 38 prestigious wins at the News Television Awards 2024. Powerful journalism to cutting-edge digital innovation, production excellence to regional leadership. NDTV sets the benchmark. 38 awards, each a testament to your trust in NDTV. NDTV stands for trust. In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
This week on India Ascends.
Will Myanmar's junta chiefs see the same fate as Syria's Bashar al-Assad? Beijing in limbo as Xi's purge extends to his own men? How Trudeau's own misgivings are likely to become his end? And broken souls in a broken system, why young Wall Street bankers are getting by using ADHD pills.
All this and more only on India Ascends with me, Gauri Dwivedi, at these timings on the NDTV network.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
The last rites of Dr. Manmohan Singh are set to take place shortly. His mortal remains have reached the Nigambodh Ghat, where the military honours will be taking place. After state honours, the last rites are expected to take place in about 45 minutes or an hour from that as the event starts. As of now, these are visuals that we're tracking for you from the ground from Nigambodh Ghat, where his mortal remains have just reached. I'm being joined at this point by Aarti Jairat, who's a senior journalist, as well as Aditi Fadnis, who are joining us at this point. In terms of international politics or diplomacy, Aarti Jairat, the fact that Dr. Singh maintained relations with the United States helped sort of bring an impetus to where India-US relationship stands today, whether that's trade or whether that's diplomacy on other fronts, education, import, defense as well, ma'am.
Agriculture, another field in which a lot of Indo-US cooperation is going on. Yes, I mean, I think, as I said, I think the process started with Vajpayee, but Manmohan Singh really accelerated that relationship. And, Manmohan Singh and George Bush, who was the president at that time, they shared an excellent rapport, as did Manmohan Singh with Obama, who came after Bush. In fact, Obama had so much respect for Manmohan Singh. He called him his guru because he said every time he met Manmohan Singh, he learned something new. There was so much to talk about. So, but it was not just a personal rapport. I think, both Manmohan Singh and George Bush were really invested in...
Are the visuals coming in from Nigambodh Ghat, where the last rites are going to be taking place. Remember, at this point, the state honours are starting with the ceremonial march with the mortal remains of Dr. Singh. Aarti Jairat, I'm sorry we had to interrupt you there. We were bringing in the live visuals coming in from Nigambodh Ghat. I'll let you finish your thought, ma'am.
Yeah, so as I was saying, I think that, Manmohan Singh, sort of really accelerated and built on a process that began during Vajpayee's premiership. And, George Bush, who was the president of the United States at that time, shared an excellent rapport with Manmohan Singh. But apart from their rapport, I think both of them were deeply invested in building this relationship because, the Soviet Union had collapsed at the end of the Cold War. And I think Manmohan Singh felt that, there were many things that the US could give India, to help in development and, moving ahead and becoming part of the world, sort of economy, getting onto the high table and so on. And so he really pushed, and so did George Bush. When that NSG thing happened, after we signed the nuclear deal, and NSG had to give us waivers for accessing certain high-end technology, it was really George Bush who pulled out the stops and, personally rang up, other European world leaders and said that this has to be done for India. So, this is what I'm saying. As an economist, he realized that for India to grow economically, you needed technology. You needed access to all kinds of technology, not just nuclear technology, but also to technology for agriculture, for developing a communication system, and so on and so forth. So, he pushed for that, and he felt the United States was the best source for this, the United States and its Western allies. So he really pushed this relationship. And I think today we're, seeing the benefit of it. Yes, there are people who have reservations about the neoliberal economic policies and getting too close to the United States, because one downside of this, building the relationship with the US was that we ignored our traditional relationship with Russia.
Right.
And, in fact, at one point there was a kind of coldness that developed between Russia and India, which I think now the Modi government has moved to correct, so that, there is some balance again in our, in our relationships with other countries.
Absolutely. Stay on with us. These, of course, visuals coming in from the Nigam Bodh Ghat. We can see the Congress delegation following as the mortal remains are being taken into Nigam Bodh Ghat, where the military honours will be done. We can see Rahul Gandhi Kharge as well leading the delegation there, as well as Priyanka Gandhi, as the Congress leaders have arrived from the AICC headquarters to Nigam Bodh Ghat, where top dignitaries will now be paying respect. Remember, earlier Congress leaders had paid respects and laid wreath to Dr. Singh at the AICC headquarters. Now, of course, visuals that we're getting for you are from Nigam Bodh Ghat, where the last rites will take place, and before that, the military honours will take place, where top military officials, as well as Prime Minister, President and Vice President, as well as Lok Sabha Speaker, will be laying wreath and paying their respects to Dr. Singh. Let me bring in Aditi Fadnis. Ma'am, now in terms of his strategy to maintain peace and stability in South Asia, since we're talking about his diplomacy and that side of his governance, what role do you think he played as far as bringing the global South forward?
It was really difficult for him because while his personal conviction was to have friendly relations with Pakistan, it was during his tenure in 2008 that the Mumbai attacks took place. And he was personally very shattered by those events. So he did try to normalize relations. He was very keen to make things better for South Asia, but at that time it was there were a lot of pressures, and his idea was to make India a better place and make India a place where the South Asian nations would find it easier to do business. So, in fact, he said on record many times that now that India is a liberalized economy, the South Asian nations should take advantage of this and leverage the opportunities that were available to them.
Absolutely. We're getting in visuals now from Nigam Bodh Ghat. What we can see is that Rajnath Singh, Defence Minister, as well as JP Nadda, Amit Shah have arrived at Nigam Bodh Ghat, is what we're learning. That's the latest update. We can also see Vice President Dhankar, who's arrived there at Nigam Bodh Ghat. There, of course, dignitaries were arriving. I think that's the Prime Minister who's just entered Nigam Bodh Ghat as well. These are the latest details that we're bringing for you from Nigam Bodh Ghat, where the last rites are going to take place. Remember, Dr. Singh's last rites will be preceded by military honours. These are visuals of his mortal remains being placed there for the top dignitaries and leaders to be placing wreath and paying their honours. This will, of course, start with the Defence Secretary and then move on to the Chief of Defence Staff. There are going to be, of course, chiefs of the various defence forces who will be paying their respects first, then followed by the Defence Minister. Then, of course, comes the Vice President, the Lok Sabha Speaker, the Prime Minister, the President as well will be paying respects before the cremation and the last rites that take place in about an hour from now is what we're expecting. Aarti Jairath, now talking about, earlier as well, we were discussing politics surrounding the memorial for Dr. Singh, and the former media advisor to Dr. Singh, in fact, had a very interesting point that his legacy must be remembered in more intellectual things. Of course, a memorial is important, but things like a scholarship or perhaps a university is how Dr. Singh would have liked him to be remembered.
Absolutely. I think, that would be a really huge tribute to Manmohan Singh to set up a university in his name, or, I don't know about a scholarship, but a university which would be an institution. And I think that is because he started out as an academic. And, that's where his heart really lay. A kind of a sculpture or a piece of stone, on the banks of the Yamuna in Rajghat is not, what Dr. Singh would like to be remembered by. And, he's also not the kind of leader who, had an emotional connect with the people of India. Say unlike Jawaharlal Nehru as the first Prime Minister, or Mahatma Gandhi as a founder of the nation, the father of the nation, they have an emotional connect with common people. Manmohan Singh was much more an intellectual, and therefore his connect is really with the intellectual elite, with the middle classes, with the educated persons. And, for them, it makes much more sense to have a kind of university named after Manmohan Singh, where they can send their children and remember, his contribution to the nation. But, can I add to some points that Aditi made about the, neighborhood and his policy towards the neighborhood? So, as she said, it was very, very difficult for him because the Mumbai terror strikes happened during his tenure. But, if we compare...
Aarti Jairatnam, I'm really sorry. I'm going to have to interrupt you. We'll take a short break and be right back. We'll let you complete your thought right after this short break. Stay with us.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro. World's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh passes away at 92, state funeral shortly. Politics over Dr. Singh's memorial. Congress demands appropriate location. Government ensures to allocate separate space. Formula E race case haunts KTR. ED summons BRS working president to appear before it on January 7th. US President Donald Trump has raised concerns about China's expanding influence in the Panama Canal.
Mahakumbh, a festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival, the divine dip at the spiritual Sangam, a sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
2024, the year that was, when India welcomed Ram. When India decided,
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी,
when Jammu and Kashmir turned a historic leaf,
as Chief Minister for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir,
when India mourned, when India celebrated, when India protested, when India felt proud, when India scaled new heights, NDTV brought it all to you, your trusted news destination, yesterday, today and tomorrow.
A very warm welcome to the first edition of the NDTV Emerging Business Conclave 2024.
एमएसएमई विभाग एक महत्वपूर्ण विभाग है.
We have to think about what is brand India. India will always stand for democracy. We will always be one of the largest investors in the world.
It is also very, very important that these MSMEs grow.
We are seeing that women are coming up in many other sectors apart from the traditional sectors.
New day, new show, a new experience. Start your day with the news, not views. We bring you stories that matter and impact your lives. News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of governance, Delhi, NDTV brings to you the best breakfast show. The breakfast show only on NDTV 24/7 every morning at 8 a.m.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
We are able to maintain the democratic fabric and the democratic system.
I want to do something that can make a difference.
लगातार जनता की आवाज.
The nation is bidding farewell to Dr. Manmohan Singh. The last rites will take place shortly. As of now, the military honour is taking place at Nigam Bodh Ghat. Remember, top dignitaries are arriving at Nigam Bodh Ghat. That includes the Prime Minister as well. Several leaders are already there. The Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, who will also be laying wreath at the Nigam Bodh Ghat. We also have JP Nadda, Amit Shah, who have already reached the Nigam Bodh Ghat to pay their last respects. Remember, Dr. Singh's last rites will take place and will be preceded by military honours at the Nigam Bodh Ghat. That is set to start any time. But we'll also be discussing the details and the legacy that has been left behind by Dr. Singh. I'm being joined by senior journalists Aarti Jairat and Aditi Fadnis with us as well. Aarti Jairat, I'm sorry we had to interrupt you earlier, but you can continue your thought about, you were talking about the legacy that Dr. Singh has left behind and how he would like to be remembered.
Yeah, so I was actually adding to what Aditi Fadnis had said about, his whole, policy, the neighborhood policy. He was very, very keen to build relations with Pakistan, to establish, peace and to somehow resolve this vexed issue between the two of us. And he came very close to it. Unfortunately for him, in 2008, we had those Mumbai terror strikes.
Right.
And, again, I think, we have to give it to Manmohan Singh and, of course, his advisors, that instead of creating the kind of situation we see today in the Middle East, they exercised strategic restraint and opted for coercive diplomacy rather than a, retaliatory strike against Pakistan. Mind you, he was under a lot of pressure. There were many people who felt that we needed to respond to Pakistan in the same way that Pakistan had, sort of struck us. But, he and his core advisors put their foot down. And I think that coercive diplomacy strategy worked really well because the world began to realize what we had been saying for years, that Pakistan is the source of cross-border terrorism in India. And, I think that, this whole sort of process of isolating Pakistan all over, and imposing restrictions began with that. Unfortunately for him, when he came back for a second term, and then one of his first foreign visits was to Sharm el-Sheikh, where he signed that agreement with, the then Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. And he came back hoping that agreement would pave the way for a resolution of the dispute between India and Pakistan and convert the LOC into a recognized border. But because of the terror strike that had happened in 2008, emotions were running very high here. And I mean, the opposition, of course, was, jumped down his throat on this, but so did people in his own party. And, that was one of the things that Manmohan Singh had to walk back on.
Right.
He actually had to kind of almost disown that Sharm el-Sheikh agreement. And I think it's something that he felt very, very bad about because, I think he truly believed that for peace and progress in India, we needed to resolve our, problems with Pakistan. We needed to open our borders for trade. But unfortunately, he was not able to achieve that. And that must be one of the regrets that he has gone with.
Right. Aditi Phadnis, now the 1991 economic liberalization was perhaps the most landmark or significant turning point in India's economy. But how much of its success do you think we can attribute to Dr. Singh?
Oh, all of it, I think. It was a team. It was basically Manmohan Singh and P. Chidambaram who did all the heavy lifting. This was an era when my colleagues who covered trade policy could actually tell, till 1991 happened, who could actually predict on which paragraph what element of the trade policy would say what. It was so predictable. And I still remember on 7th of July 1992, Mr. Chidambaram sat all night, all day. Much later, he told me that. He sat a straight, I think it was around 32 hours, and rewrote the entire trade policy. Dr. Manmohan Singh told him what he expected from it, and it was such a brilliant document because it merged seamlessly with the kind of reforms that Dr. Manmohan Singh was trying to do. So this kind of synergy is very rare and quite hard to find in a government which is attempting such an important rewriting of India's economic policy.
Speaking of India's economic policy as well, when he was finance minister as well as after he became the prime minister, in terms of economic reforms and the momentum that he provided to India's economy, what do you think stands out the most?
It's hard to say that any one thing that stands out, but he restored India's credibility in world eyes. I think that included steps to get back gold, which was pledged, which was in popular image and imagination a dreadful, terrible thing to happen. He also organized the devaluation. We saw the kind of crisis that accompanied demonetization, which was a sort of a similar upheaval in India's monetary system. But devaluation had to be managed very carefully. Overnight, India's fuel bill would have gone up, everything would have gone up. And I think he put in place things that made sure that at least most of India was cushioned against economic shock. So for that alone, I think we must be very grateful to his understanding as an economist, as a Reserve Bank governor, and as a trade economist, with a very fine understanding of commerce. For that alone, I think we need to be very grateful to him as a nation.
All right, it is an end of an era. One of the finest statesmen, one of the finest economists, and one of the finest human beings, Dr. Manmohan Singh. He has passed away. He passed away on Thursday night. The former Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, he was widely recognized as the architect of India's economic reform, especially since the early 1990s. He was 92 years of age. A 7-day state mourning has been declared and all flags are flying at half-mast. These are live pictures that you can see from the Nigambodh Ghat. The Congress President, Mallikarjun Kharge, he's paying his final tributes to Dr. Manmohan Singh. You could also see the Prime Minister, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, along with the Defence Minister there, and other dignitaries who have arrived to pay their final respects to the former Prime Minister of India, one of the architects of India's economic reforms there. These are the live pictures that you can see of the last rites of Dr. Manmohan Singh. The mortal remains, remember, it was kept at the All India Congress Committee headquarters for an hour from 8:30 a.m. People from all walks of life, Congress workers, everyone, they paid their respects. State funeral is taking place with full military honors. Prime Minister is there. Congress, in fact, had urged the Prime Minister as well as the Home Minister to hold the cremation at a site where a memorial of Dr. Singh could be built. It was a life that Dr. Manmohan Singh lived. It was a life of service and achievement. Dr. Singh was born on September 26, 1932 in Gah in West Punjab, now in Pakistan. And his life, indeed, is a testament to his unwavering commitment to public service. He, in fact, earned his doctorate in economics from Oxford University and went on to serve in various capacities for the country. He was the chief economic advisor. He was the governor of the Reserve Bank of India. He was the head of the Planning Commission. He was the finance minister. He was then the leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha. He then became the 13th Prime Minister of India in 2004, remained the Prime Minister till 2014. My colleague Shreya Ghosh, she's there at the Nigambodh Ghat. Shreya, just take us through what all is happening there at the moment.
Earlier also, and yesterday also there were some events also cancelled. The party level, the BJP party.
Of course, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Rajnath Singh, Defence Minister, President, they're all here inside the Nigambodh along with other foreign dignitaries as well, the King of Bhutan, several ambassadors from Palestine, and other to mark who has left behind an incredible social economic legacy behind, an economist turned politician, an accidental prime minister, reluctant prime minister who was appointed rather than elected for 2 consecutive terms, is cremated at Nigambodh Ghat. And of course, we know we lost.
All right, we'll try and fix that line with my colleague Shreya Ghosh. In the meanwhile, Anushka Garg, my colleague, she's outside the All India Congress Committee headquarters. Anushka, just take us through what all happened today as far as Dr. Singh's final journey is concerned.
Well, certainly, Osama, and a very emotional day, not just for the Congress party workers, but also for the people across the nation, because what we saw is that not just people from the party, but from across the party lines have in fact participated in the last rites of the former Prime Minister, Mr. Manmohan Singh. Also, around 8:30, his mortal remains were brought to AICC headquarters, where top leaders from the Congress committee, as the CWC core members, participated, to pay tribute to the former Prime Minister. And also, what we saw is a formal procession took place wherein the leaders of army, several army chiefs with all state procession, in fact, took the mortal remains to its last journey. Now remember, after a certain while, Mr. Dr. Manmohan Singh would be walking into history, because what we are also seeing is that several people, participated in the formal procession that took place also in Nigambodh Ghat. What we are learning from sources is that several of the, people from outside of India have also participated in this whole procession. procession, be it also Prime Minister Narendra Modi, President Draupadi Murmu, and also several of the state elects have in fact reached the whole site where the last procession is about to take place at the Nigambodh Ghat. Now remember, a lot of controversy was seen around where the last procession would take place, wherein the Congress at the CWC meeting had in fact accused the centre that the centre is not ready to in fact give us a place that is befitting of the stature of Dr. Manmohan Singh, and that is why the memorial is now taking place at a common crematorium ground, that is the Nigambodh Ghat. Now regarding all of this matter, the centre had in fact given a press release and had said that the trust is right now being in fact allocated, and also place is to be earmarked for the memorial of Dr. Manmohan Singh. Also what we are seeing is that but the whole procession is taking place with all the formal army chief are paying their respects to the former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, and right now we're outside the AICC headquarters where a few minutes back the procession took place, and several of the Congress leaders were in fact participating in this whole procession, and participated in the last journey of Dr. Manmohan Singh. Back to you, Sama.
Right. I also have my colleague Sunil Prabhu there outside the All India Congress Committee headquarters. Sunil, it has indeed been a very, very emotional day, not just for the Congress workers and as Anushka was mentioning there, for a lot of people who loved Dr. Manmohan Singh, who believed in all the good work that he did.
So as we speak, you can see the King of Bhutan, who had a great relationship with Dr. Manmohan Singh and really paying his last respects to the former Prime Minister. As these are the final moments, this is now the state funeral part where finally, after the tribute that has been given by all dignitaries, finally, the national tricolor will be taken. He will be given a gun salute, and then the religious ceremony will be in. So we are at the last moments of Dr. Manmohan Singh's final journey. It's been a tumultuous last 3 days, I think, across the country, across the world. People cutting across party lines, cutting across whichever government they've been, and former people, really coming out from all walks of life to pay tribute to what was a simple, humble, minority Prime Minister of this country. A rare sight to see, and that's what we have seen right now. Of course, the President of India is now paying her last respects to the former Prime Minister, who's seen as the architect of India's economic reforms and taking it to great heights in the international sphere.
Absolutely, Sunil Prabhu. You're absolutely right. In fact, I'm also currently joined by Prabhu Chawla as well as Neerja Chaudhary at the moment. Prabhu Chawla, the editorial director of New Indian Express, he joins us. Sir, welcome to NDTV. We have been talking about his achievements as a politician. I want to talk to you about the kind of a person that he was. He has indeed left a legacy of integrity and humility, something that very few people, that you can say about very few people.
Yeah, Susie, I must tell you that I've been a part of his journey, 50 years journey, amazing journey from professor in Delhi University to Prime Minister of India. It was a journey which went through hills and valleys. He had suffered with his setbacks, but he was always on the top. I knew him as a lecturer because he was a professor of Delhi School of Economics, where I was a student in 1966. And he was my teacher there, and he was so humble, and his voice was so low, as it has been till the last, that all of us, the students, young student girls and boys, used to sit in front there and below his desk to listen to him. So he was a very humble, very meeting everybody, looking after the student, and he would give lectures once, twice a week, and we would go there. And from there, I have seen becoming the secretary to the government of India, then becoming RBI governor, then becoming chairman of the Prime Minister Advisory Council of Chandrasekhar, and from there he became the UGC chairman, and then became finance minister, then he became the Prime Minister of India. But I must give you one or two anecdotes which were important because that are relevant to explain his conduct, how he was conducting himself.
Mr. Chawla, I'm extremely sorry to interrupt you. The gun salute is happening at the moment. So the state funeral of Dr. Manmohan Singh there taking place with full military honours. These are live pictures that you can see from the Nigambodh Ghat. You see the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, along with the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, there paying their last respects to the former Prime Minister of India there.
देख सकते हैं कि राष्ट्रपति भी निगमबोध घाट पर मौजूद हैं, जहां उन्होंने श्रद्धा सुमन भावपूर्ण तरीके से अर्पित किए डॉक्टर मनमोहन।
All right, let me go across to Prabhu Chawla. Sir, you were saying something. Please continue.
Yeah. So I was talking about the journey from a professor in Delhi University to the Prime Minister of India, and I've been part of most of the time because I was a student. So I was telling you, when he became UGC chairman, that is the interesting part of it, because he has been always in the government service. And he has been following the discipline of a government servant, that he has to follow the rule book, he has to follow the files, he has to go beyond, he can't go beyond the rules. So he was a very simple person. When he became the UGC chairman, he was at that time Advisory Council chairman of the Prime Minister Chandrasekhar chairman. And when Chandrasekhar resigned, and he went to him, sir, I have been part of the government for many years, almost 40 years, 30 years, and what do I do after this? Because he wanted to have some kind of a responsibility. And I must tell you, because Chandrasekhar, who was otherwise the acting Prime Minister at that time, as a code of conduct, he could not have appointed anybody else. But because it was Dr. Manmohan Singh, who was respected by everybody, who was respected across the party line, which is reflected today in his Mourning, what is happening there, across the party. So he went out of the way, only Prime Minister who, after resignation, made an appointment like UGC chairman. That reflected the acceptability of Dr. Manmohan Singh as a person of high integrity and dependability. When he became finance minister, that is another story, because I was at that time Indian Express editor. And I was to interview Mr. Narasimha Rao at his house in Motilal Nehru Marg. I was sitting there in the morning when I went there. He was talking to somebody, I didn't know who was. Later on, he told me he was talking to whom. So he said, Prabhu, you sit it down because you are an editor. You should not be listening to what I am saying, but I trust you. So what happened that he was talking to Mr. I.G. Patel in London at that point in time and requesting him to become the Finance Minister of India. Perhaps I.G. Patel, later on Prime Minister himself, told me that I.G. Patel suggested Dr. Manmohan Singh's name. Dr. Manmohan Singh, being a liberal left economist, demand-side economist, and because his stint at UNITO was much more liberal, that he believed in a different kind of economics. But Patel assured Narasimha Rao that he'll be part of your economic agenda. Whatever economic agenda you say, Dr. Manmohan Singh will faithfully implement. So Dr. Manmohan Singh was not the first choice of finance minister, but he became the second choice. He became the first state finance minister of India. He carried out all the reforms. Of course, credit must go to Narasimha Rao because they allowed it to do what is work. Because basic principle, basic idea behind Dr. Manmohan Singh was that he was acceptable to international community in his economic people. IMF, he has good relationship because he had worked in the United Nations and he has secret parleys with them, all of them. There were conditionalities imposed because economic reforms would not come without conditions. So they wrote a full memorandum of association to the IMF, which we carried on the front page of Indian Express. Dr. Manmohan Singh got angry next day when he was finance minister. He said, Prabhu, I never expected it from you. But what I'm telling you that he would implement. He was concerned about the country. Okay, how it can progress. So he tweaked his ideology to mix the politics of that day. So it was a very balancing, intact, fine, pragmatic balance which he did between politics and economics and brought the company to the verge of developing to one of the finest economy today. It was the foundation laid was based at the time. Then he became Prime Minister. Everybody knows that he became not the first choice of the Prime Minister. Sonia Gandhi was the first choice. And Sonia Gandhi made him the Prime Minister. For 5 years, he carried out the politics of Sonia Gandhi. All the economic reforms, he was a welfare economist at that time. You had Manrega, your Right to Information Act, you had Kisan, that 60,000 crore rupees which was given away at that point in time. So it was in 2004 to 9, that it was Manmohan Singh who laid the foundation of a strong economy. 2008, you saw what happened, meltdown happened at that point in time. India was the only country which survived that meltdown.
Absolutely.
Because of the strong economic policy of Dr. Manmohan Singh. Even the nuclear deal, he stood his ground. Maybe his head was always high, but his shoulders were sometimes down. That was a different issue because of political compulsion. So 2004, he was a nominated Prime Minister. He was not elected as his own right. But 2009 victory of the Congress party from 140 odd seats to 206 seats, contribution was primarily of Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, who created middle class of India.
Absolutely.
Middle class of India, cutting across religious and everything, supported Dr. Manmohan Singh. The victory of 2009 of Congress party was because of Manmohan Singh, and today the Congress party has lost the credible brand on which it was riding for the last, this kind of thing they are doing now. They never did for him when he was in power. But now they think Manmohan Singh is the only asset. Like after Nehru, if they have to project somebody who built modern India, they will try to put Nehru and Manmohan Singh at the same pedestal. That is what they're trying to do now.
Absolutely, sir. And in fact, I was watching one of his interviews that he gave in the late 90s. And funny that you mention it regarding him being the finance minister at that point of time. In that interview, he mentioned that I didn't think I was going to be the finance minister for as long as I was.
You're right, absolutely right. Because there was so much problem at that point in time. And after the scam happened, that was the biggest stock exchange at that time. Scam happened, and he took one upon himself. JPC was appointed, he was explained to everybody else. At point of time, he was willing to resign also. But Mr. Manmohan Singh was supported fully by Narasimha Rao at that point in time. So the entire party was behind him. Narasimha Rao, because Narasimha was not, there was no good relation between Sonia Gandhi and Narasimha Rao, and the Congress party split. People walked it away, but Manmohan Singh did not walk away with Arjun Singh, Sheila Dikshit, etc., who left the party. But in spite of that, Sonia Gandhi chose him. That is what is reflected, because many Congress previous presidents have died, prime ministers have died, but then Narasimha Rao died. Nobody, Congress party never bothered about them. Sitaram Kesi died, Congress president, nothing was done about him. The Congress party gave him this extra going out to the way. And because they know Dr. Manmohan Singh commands respectability, not as a minority person. They're trying to invoke today the minority thing by asking that he's being denied the right to be cremated at the same spot where Atalji and everybody are doing that. But BJP is quite smart. BJP has done, okay, we will do it. Government of India will appoint a trust in which the land will be given. So there is another, other than Nehru, there is another person from the Congress party who was a pride of place among the leaders of the country. Therefore, this bringing him down to the sixth level, I think they are undermining the personality of Dr. Manmohan Singh. Dr. Manmohan Singh may be a weak prime minister in second term. That is tragedy, because people will not forgive him for that he could have asserted himself. He was the person who had a mandate of 2009 behind him, but he did not. Even one of the editors meeting, he told us that he is bound by compulsion of coalition. But compulsion of coalition, he could not appoint his cabinet minister, he could not sack his cabinet minister. Second term, which he could have utilized himself to be, because he had the mandate, he did not do it. But at the end, even today, Manmohan Singh is the brand of the Congress party, which no Congress party doesn't have anything else. So they are therefore celebrating this in that way, playing him at a pedestal which is Nehru, Gandhi, equalizing themselves. And Manmohan Singh was unified. As a prime minister, he would consult Atalji much more often. I remember many cases, I can't disclose it here. And he was a so simple, humble man. Anybody could go. I met him twice, thrice. After that, he stopped meeting journalists also because of the political compulsion. But he never behaved like a prime minister when he was meeting people. He was a prime ministerial candidate, which everybody on the global table, top table, he was invited. All the president I have seen, people taking away, respecting him, for giving him the first place. So he was a top-rated international type of statesman, political leader, who did not assert himself as much as he should have done.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. I also have with me Neerja Chaudhary. Ma'am, you know, we have been speaking about Dr. Singh's integrity and humility, but, you know, his legacy, it extends far beyond his impressive list of achievements. Just shed some light on that.
You know, of course, Prabhu has spoken at length about his legacy and his career. One of the few people who had the kind of exposure and experience that Dr. Manmohan Singh had. He was an academic who came into bureaucracy, and in bureaucracy, finance secretary, UGC chairman later, RBI governor, chief economic advisor to the prime minister. And then, of course, 1991, Later, they called him an accidental prime minister, but he was also an accidental finance minister. When Narasimha Rao chose him, and it was Venkatraman, the then president, who used to say that it was my idea, and I told Narasimha Rao that first go for I.G. Patel, and then he said no, then go for Narasimha Rao. I'd go for Manmohan Singh. And P.C. Alexander was deputed to go and see him, wake him up in the morning and tell him he was going to be the finance minister of India. So he strayed into this, and of course then he became the leader of the opposition for several years. And finally the Prime Minister of India. Not just the Prime Minister of India, he navigated a very difficult coalition for 10 long years. And it wasn't easy because, as Prabhu was saying, the mandate was for Sonia Gandhi to become Prime Minister. She'd been elected as the leader of the Congress Parliamentary Party, of the UPA Parliamentary Party, and the president was all set to give her a letter inviting her to form the government. And then she decided that she would not take it and decided it would be Dr. Manmohan Singh. So implicit in that model of coalition was power sharing with her and the party. And the division that, they would refer to all the time, though, how with the Prime Minister, politics can be separated from administration and governance is another subject. But Dr. Ahmed Patel, who was the political secretary of Sonia Gandhi, would often say in frustration, Dr. Saab, but this is our area. This was particularly during the long months when the Indo-US nuclear deal was being debated or, was going through the motions of getting passed through various hurdles. And so he was supposed to look after governance. She was supposed to look after politics. And the point is that for 10 long years, it was not only very difficult allies that he had to contend with, and he threatened to resign several times, but did not do so in the end. So he moved with grace even at that time. But it was the Indo-US nuclear deal which forged a new and strategic relationship. I wouldn't say new because Atal Bihari Vajpayee had also initiated that, but strengthened the strategic relationship with the United States of America. It was there that you saw the killer instinct of Dr. Manmohan Singh. He just would not give up. He just would not let up. And he staked his government. And Sonia Gandhi was opposed to it to begin with. Then she came around and the left parties threatened to withdraw support. He mobilized the support of the Samajwadi Party, initially opposed to the deal. And then they came on board, the government survived and the deal went through. But it showed a side of Dr. Manmohan Singh few thought existed. And because, people used to say he's a political novice. Of course, they used to joke he's an economist amongst politicians and politician amongst economists. So what will the country remember him for? If you go by the tributes that are being paid today by ordinary people, it's what Prabhu has talked about: humility, self-effacing, didn't push himself forward, understated leadership. And the question that comes to my mind is, are these qualities that people are now valuing that were associated with Dr. Manmohan Singh, is there a change taking place in the mood of the country? Mr. Narendra Modi succeeded him. This Moni Baba that the BJP used to attack him for, today is that Mon being appreciated that much more in, decency in politics. Is that what people are looking for? And I would also say, today in death, he's become a symbol of unity. Absolutely. He, in his last months, would talk about this, how he was most excited about bitterness between the two sides. But today, both sides are there together.
True. And we speak about his humility and honesty and transparency, but we rarely talk about his unassuming leadership style. And more importantly, Neerja ji, his willingness to listen.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Willingness to listen. He spoke very little, spoke very softly. You could barely hear him when he would speak. particularly in the last months, and that is true. But that the government has agreed to have a memorial in his name is even the contention in politics of late and what we've seen in Parliament in the recent winter session, and that they should do it for a leader of the Congress. And I must say, this is probably the first leader, maybe after the 50s, who has non-Nehru Gandhi family, who's had this kind of a funeral, and one who's not died in harness. He was Prime Minister 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
So,
yep. True. Absolutely, ma'am. In fact, Prabhu Chawla, not a lot of people give credit to Dr. Manmohan Singh with respect to the vision that he had and his ability to think critically and strategically about India's future.
No, that's not. You can see that everybody is giving credit for everything else. As India is today becoming the third largest economy, on the verge of becoming the third largest economy, is because of what foundations Dr. Manmohan Singh laid. Because making the economy grow by lifting the curbs in terms of various rules and regulations, Dr. Manmohan Singh started it. And he did it at that time very, very forcefully as finance minister and later on as Prime Minister of India. So he had a determined agenda. He had a target mission in mind. He would not talk about the mission, which most of the politicians do now. He would follow the mission with a missionary zeal. So he was a missionary, quite missionary, who knew what was good for the country. He was mixing welfare economics with market economics. He was expert in that. But at the same time, I said earlier, he created about 150 million strong middle-class economy by making them to invest in the market as well and by giving the tax concessions at the same time. He was the best finance minister, which was followed by the best second finance minister, was Jaswant Sinha, who also introduced what he laid the foundation for economic reform. No other government had the guts even to reverse some of the processes even. Not even one of them. Everybody, there was a continuity of anything else. They might have forgotten. But in the Indian establishment, continuity of Manmohan Singh's legacy and economic reformer continues even till today in Modi's government as well. So that is what the contribution Dr. Manmohan Singh has. His politics may not be continued. He may not be remembered about as the most strong person, but he was remembered for setting certain rules for how the ground realities and agenda for the country to go forward. But that is a different thing that he was the prime minister. People remember because he was forced to appoint a principal secretary who was once a district magistrate of Rajiv Gandhi constituency. Pulak he was appointed. There were some of the ministers, some of the choices in the first term. There was a National Advisory Council which was dictating the terms, but he was accepting them because he thought they were good for the country. Later on, the scandals got into it, 2009 to 13, 14, that was a scandalous year. But he's getting the respect because he never offended his worst enemies. Once he had to apologize. I'm giving an example because nuclear deal was going on and there was BJP was opposing it left and right and center. And then he tried to reach out to Vajpayee. He was at that time and little active before that, before the nuclear deal started. He said, okay, I'm sending my national security advisor to discuss with you the possibilities of what can be done. What happened instead of national security advisor, who decided till today is not known, then one of the industry leader, important entrepreneur, one of the big enterprises now running the company, I won't name him, along with the CIA General Secretary General went to see Atalji. Atalji got very furious at that point in time. He called the Prime Minister office and told them, what is this? You're sending me somebody else, I can't discuss it with industrial leaders, this kind of thing happening there. Manmohan Singh himself went called upon PG later on and apologized for miscommunication, what happened between his office and the people who ended up. So this kind of personality, no Prime Minister will accept this kind of mistake this happened. So this Prime Minister was always concentrating everybody and whatnot. And once when I asked him in one of the meetings, he said, why you are suffering this kind of humiliation? The perception is that Sonia Gandhi runs the whole thing. I remember even the Foreign Secretary was appointed. Manmohan Singh had chosen a particular person as Foreign Secretary later on. But that Foreign Secretary, Sonia Gandhi, suspected that he was close to the BJP. So he was not appointed, but he accepted it. I'm just saying when I met him, I asked him once, because I never met him quite often. He was my teacher, so he was willing to talk to me earlier, but later on he did not meet any journalists. So I asked him, why are you doing this? He said, Prabhu, you don't forget it. I was not the electoral politics. I was appointed Prime Minister by Gandhi Parivar. So I cannot forget that I am their nominee here. If they have certain reasons to do certain things, why should I question? Because they are in politics. I am not in electoral politics. Therefore, he accepted them as the political guiding force because of them the Congress party has won. So this kind of adjustment happening within the Congress party, within the coalition partner, outside the coalition partner, he knew the art of bringing everybody together according to his point of view. He may not agree with them, he may not be able to carry out with them. So Manmohan Singh was a person who could compromise on the basis of what was good for the country, and which would not destabilize the existing relationship between political parties. Now we are going to the confrontation politics. Manmohan Singh never believed in confrontation politics. He was always for a dialogue. He believed in democracy, where dialogue was the most important ingredient of a healthy democracy. So I would say, now the Congress party is celebrating when he was alive. They did not give him that much of respect which was required, but they are giving him respect. All the Gandhi Parivar members are present there. So you have said the old Manmohan Singh dead, but the Congress party, new Manmohan Singh has become alive now. He is giving them the guidance now as the former Prime Minister who made India great, who survived the whole thing. That is what is happening now.
Absolutely, sir. And it is always fascinating to listen to you, Prabhu Chawla, as well as Neeraj Chaudhary. Do stay on with us. We'll take a very short break and we'll be back with more.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Mahakumbh, a festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival, the divine dip at the spiritual Sangam, a sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
NDTV shines with 38 prestigious wins at the News Television Awards 2024. Powerful journalism to cutting-edge digital innovation, production excellence to regional leadership. NDTV sets the benchmark. 38 awards, each a testament to your trust in NDTV. NDTV stands for trust. In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
This week on India Ascends.
Will Myanmar's junta chiefs see the same fate as Syria's Bashar al-Assad? Beijing in limbo as Xi's purge extends to his own men. How Trudeau's own misgivings are likely to become his end. And broken souls in a broken system, why young Wall Street bankers are getting by using ADHD pills.
All this and more only on India Ascends with me, Gauri Dwivedi, at these timings on the NDTV network.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India. bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Mahakumbh, a festival of faith. The world's biggest spiritual festival. The divine dip at the spiritual Sangam. A sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
2024, the year that was, when India welcomed Ram. When India decided,
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी,
when Jammu and Kashmir turned a historic leaf.
As Chief Minister for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir.
When India mourned. When India celebrated. When India protested. When India felt proud. When India scaled new highs. NDTV brought it all to you. Your trusted news destination. Yesterday, today and tomorrow.
Welcome back. These are live pictures that you can see from the Nigambodh Ghat, where Dr. Manmohan Singh, the former Prime Minister of India, he is being laid to rest. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, the President, Draupadi Murmu, the Union Home Minister, Amit Shah, as well as the Defence Minister, Rajnath Singh, along with Sonia Gandhi there, sitting, paying their tributes, paying their last respects to the former Prime Minister. And I'm still currently joined by Neerja Chaudhary as well as Prabhu Chawla. Ma'am, we have been speaking about the kind of a person that he was, the kind of a personality that he was, and a very important quality that Dr. Manmohan Singh had was his commitment to accountability. And I remember on the 12th of August in 2005, he in fact nobody would have thought, and he in fact expressed his regret in the Rajya Sabha and apologized for the 1984 anti-Sikh riots. He didn't need to, but I remember he said that I have no hesitation in apologizing to not only the Sikh community, but also to the nation. I bow my head in shame that such a thing happened. Speaks volume about Dr. Manmohan Singh, and his words in fact were a testament to his commitment to accountability and his efforts to promote national unity and reconciliation.
Yeah, this is correct. That statement is something that, the country, the Sikh community and others will remember for a long, long time, because it put to rest something that as a nation will take a long time to live down. I saw him last year. And one of the things he said to me was that I have done nothing in my life that I need be ashamed of. Those are big words. And I'd asked him, when Rahul Gandhi tore up that ordinance publicly, why did you not resign? So he said, he thought about it, but he said that Rahul Gandhi came to me afterwards and he apologized. So another thing that's very interesting that Prabhu mentioned also, in the 2009 elections where he came into his own, after the successful completion of the Indo-US nuclear deal, that really was a feather in his cap, and he'd seen it through, and he'd become his own person that much more, and then he dealt with the 2008 economic mess in the world, in the Western world, very successfully delinking India from the world economies. It was actually the 2009 206 tally of Lok Sabha that Congress got was attributed also to Manmohan Singh, that it was because of him also. And the middle class, the new middle class in India, that had, because of the economic reforms, and many of the middle class people had their children and relatives in the US. So they, even though they didn't understand the intricacies of that deal, which led to such a strategic partnership with the US, they understood that it was firming up a new relationship with the United States, which they welcomed. And he was, the Congress party had won, and I remember in 54 urban seats. So that, that was a proof that the middle class had looked to him. And apart from the Gandhi family who led that campaign, it was also Dr. Manmohan Singh's election in 2009. And I would say one more thing, that sometimes you wonder, of course, there are two sides of Dr. Manmohan Singh. There is his legacy, economic, foreign policy, navigating the coalition government successfully, though must have been very painfully. He didn't, whether he could have pushed the envelope that much more and asserted more, despite all the constraints, as the Prime Minister of India. That's a question that will hang there unanswered. And another question that comes to your mind is, suppose he'd headed a majority government, what would Dr. Manmohan Singh's rule have been like?
True, absolutely, ma'am. In fact, I'm also currently joined by my colleague Nazir Masoodi from Srinagar. Nazir, just give us a sense of Dr. Singh's legacy as far as his relationship with Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, and the kind of work that he did for Jammu and Kashmir.
Well, Dr. Singh will be remembered who for 10 years tried his best to ensure peace in Jammu and Kashmir, stability in Jammu and Kashmir, and end the hostility between India and Pakistan, and ensure Kashmir remains free from terror and uncertainty. And I remember in 2005 when Srinagar Muzaffarabad bus was launched, there was a major terror attack near the rally site where he addressed a rally before launching that bus. But nothing deviated him from the path of pursuing peace, because he never wanted terrorists to dictate terms or derail the peace process. So whether it was Srinagar Muzaffarabad bus service, whether it was cross LOC trade, and in fact, when it comes to return of Kashmiri Pandits, most substantial initiative which were launched, which were actually carried, was by Dr. Manmohan Singh. He announced this employment, Prime Minister's special employment package for Kashmiri displaced Pandits. More than 6,000 have got jobs, and so that they can come back to Kashmir, and here they get the comfortable, not just the job, but also accommodation, and he built large number of accommodations as well. And when it comes to the the youth of Kashmir have suffered a great deal, Jammu and Kashmir, because of the conflict. And he announced a special Prime Minister scholarship for the youth to pursue the higher study. And if you see, thousands of students from Jammu and Kashmir have been benefited because of that scheme over the last more than 14 years. He rolled that out in 2010. And similarly, whether it was reconstruction, whether it was, pursuing peace. And in fact, as we know, everybody has been talking about Sharm el-Sheikh, how he tried to risk his own, standing in the party, in his own party and the polity in the country, and he wanted to move forward, as Satinder Lama is mentioning in his book about how they were very close to the agreement with Pakistan, with General Musharraf. But for the judicial intervention in Pakistan, things would have been completely changed this time. And I have a personal anecdote also. I was reporting Manmohan Singh was here in Srinagar for some. He actually made several visits to Jammu and Kashmir, and he was here for 2 days. And he actually held also a roundtable conference here. He set up the working groups to address the economic and the political issues Jammu and Kashmir is confronting. And during one of his visits on his day 2nd, I was reporting from Dal Lake how his presence and his engagement at the Sher-e Kashmir International Convention Center, a lot of inconvenience to tourists and the local. You believe Prime Minister himself, somewhere he got to know, and he took note and he preponed his departure. So something one can't believe that, a reporter reports something, the problems the tourists and the locals are facing because of the security restriction with Prime Minister in Srinagar, and then he prepones his departure. And that is something. And he was always, as you know, when it comes to Kashmir, he was always ready to face questions, talk about the security situation, and tried whatever was possible, even engaging with the separates, which was actually started by Atal Bihari Vajpayee, met with Hurriyat leaders, other leaders, to ensure there's peace, because the man had a bigger vision. He knew in the process and consensus, he knew that these are the only two things which will actually deliver lasting peace, and where nobody will feel defeated. And that was the something which was followed by Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, whether it was opposition that time or it was the ruling party here in Jammu and Kashmir. Everybody was in touch with him, and he tried his best when it comes to Jammu and Kashmir to ensure peace, ensure development, help you to achieve their dreams when it comes to giving this scholarship, Prime Special Scholarship. And since, as I said, since 2010, thousands of students have been benefited by the scholarship. So Manmohan Singh, it's a loss for not for just the country, but people in Kashmir are also feeling that loss. Someone who cared a lot for this place, and when he came here for several times during his tenure as Prime Minister for 10 years. But his one thing, he could never visit his birthplace in Pakistan or Pakistan during 10 years. That was the hostility which was the Pakistan always displayed, despite Dr. Singh's all the peace overtures, whether it was within Kashmir or without Kashmir.
And because you mentioned Pakistan, until that 26/11 Mumbai attacks happened and how it completely changed the trajectory, the ties with Pakistan also in a sense improved for some years. Back channel talks almost paved the way for movement forward in Kashmir then.
Yeah, exactly. If you see what Satinder Lama has, because he was the man, he was the diplomat who was holding back channel talks with Pakistan, and they were always close to this agreement on Kashmir, because the fact is that what Dr. Singh wanted, as I said, he is the process and the consensus. He was that man, and he tried to engage all the stakeholders, even those who didn't agree with him or he didn't agree with them, but he would talk to them and ensure that the process is actually the way forward to ensure lasting peace. And Pakistan, as we know, always whenever there was a peace move, as I started with the Srinagar Muzaffarabad bus in 2005, there was a major terror attack just few hundred meters from the place where Prime Minister Manmohan Singh addressed the rally. But that didn't deviate him from his mission or to a peace mission. So he ensured that bus is launched. There was that bus service which continued for several years, which was stopped after abrogation of 370 in 2019. And we know 26/11, there would be several views whether India should have acted. But as one can see from a distance, Dr. Singh wanted to deal things in a different way, not for a tit for tat, but ensure there is a much bigger impact on Pakistan and much bigger deterrence than just carrying out a tit for tat attack. So perhaps that could have been the reason. But the fact is that that was something not fashionable that time or time in the country, that perhaps was not politically right decision for him. but he was thinking more strategic, long term. That's what the Dr. Singh's legacy is, and because he didn't believe, because he knew, because if you see, the relations with Pakistan was not just for the sake of Pakistan, it was to achieve larger strategic objectives for India. For example, after Galwan incident in 2020, when we see the horrible situation happen at the line of actual control, India had to somehow engage with Pakistan through back-channel negotiations and ensure a ceasefire along the line of control since February 2021, because you can't have a two-front war and two-and-a-half-front war in Jammu and Kashmir along the LOC and the LAC as well. So Dr. Singh knew those challenges, that if there is a challenge of China, you can't have a confrontation with the Pakistan at the same time. Perhaps that was the reason he always wanted some kind of reconciliation with Pakistan, at the same time not to compromise India's national interest.
Absolutely. And you rightly mentioned, in fact, there was that famous Manmohan Musharraf four-step formula as well. Just shed some light on that as well, Nazir.
Well, 4-point formula, which was Musharraf formula, and it as I said, this Satinder Lamba has been talking in great detail in his book, because he was the man who was dealing with Pakistan and holding back-channel talks with Pakistan. There were several things which were actually on the agenda, which actually meant that there's no, exchange of territory. There's no, compromise on the sovereignty. At the same time, it is a win-win situation for all the stakeholders, be it people of Jammu and Kashmir, be it Pakistan, be it India. Because fact of the matter is, issue of Jammu and Kashmir is not our part of Jammu. Issue of Jammu and Kashmir is also about the part of Kashmir which is with Pakistan. How can you get that back, or how can you resolve that? Or it will remain a permanent source of hostility. So Dr. Singh knew that it is not just this part of, Jammu and Kashmir he has to talk about. He has to talk about other part of Jammu and Kashmir, and trade and, this trade and cross-LOC trade or the bus services also about to achieve that end as well. So it was a long-term, multifaceted, it was a strategic move. It was not just a, event. He wanted to use the process as a mean, as a diplomacy and long-term planning that would serve India's national interest, rather than just the rhetoric or the political theatrics.
Absolutely. Nazir Masoodi, thank you very much for getting us all there. So these are live pictures that you are seeing from the Nigam Bodh Ghat. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, the Union Home Minister, Amit Shah, along with other dignitaries, the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, Congress Chief Mallikarjun Kharge, Sonia Gandhi, as well as Rahul Gandhi, present there paying their last tributes to Dr. Manmohan Singh. The last rites are taking place at the moment. It is indeed an end of an era. One of the finest statesmen has passed away. I'm still joined by Neerja Chaudhary, senior journalist. Ma'am, we all ask this question. How do you think Dr. Singh's leadership style and humility earn him respect across party lines? But more importantly, what lessons can be drawn from him as a person, as a personality? Something that all the politicians at this point in these times need to learn.
Yeah, this humility, the understated style was very typically, inimitably his. Now, there are two sides to this story, that if you are like this, you can be pushed around. And you have to keep giving in to other people who may be stronger, who may use, strong arm methods to get their way. On the other hand, this is a very persuasive way to handle things also. And particularly if you have to deal with a whole lot of players in a coalition. It used to be said about him that Dr. Manmohan Singh was like that blade of grass. When the storm comes, it bends and survives. And there are those who stand, who are like trees and stand erect. And when the storm comes, they crash. So it depends on the situation in which you find yourself. But certainly I would say that you wonder, of course, with Sonia Gandhi being a very powerful force behind the throne during his premiership, and of course the party also playing a very active role, and with NAC being there, National Advisory Council, which mooted, the rights-based laws that were finally passed by the government. They accepted it. I'm told Dr. Manmohan Singh had reservations also. Where will the money come from? All this, but then he went along with it, and it was under his stewardship that all that happened. But you wonder, as I keep saying, could he have pushed to assert much more as the Prime Minister of India? But then everybody says that his persona was very different, and he was mild-mannered. He was, as you say, humble, self-effacing. All those qualities that, we are admiring so much about him today.
True, ma'am. And, today in these times, especially in the political spectrum, there is a lack of culture of transparency and accountability. How can Dr. Singh's, humility and integrity serve as a model for the future politicians, for the present politicians, in order, and what steps can be taken? All right, there is the gun salute that is taking place. In order to honor Dr. Manmohan Singh there. Neerja Chaudhary, I was speaking about how we lack a culture of transparency in these times and accountability in Indian politics. How can Dr. Singh's
humility.
And humility, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, ma'am, just give us a sense of how can Dr. Singh's life be a model for future politicians and the way politics should be done?
I think, what was his unique selling point, as they say, his USP? He reached out across the political divide, and people across the political divide came to him. And what pained him in his last months was the immense bitterness, katuta and all that they talked about between the ruling side and the opposition side. And I think this is what the ability to have a dialogue with even your opponent, your adversary, without personal bitterness creeping in, is what democracy is all about. And if there is deadlock there, then there's going to be an impasse, there's going to be a standoff, you're not going to be able to move forward to resolve issues. So I think today, with huge aggression, I would say even viciousness creeping into political relationships between the two sides, I think Dr. Singh and what he stood for and what he wanted and what exercised him in the last months of his life is truly, truly relevant. I think, and a beginning, I feel, even for a few hours, where the entire top political leadership is present to give him a befitting farewell, right from the president, vice president, prime minister, defense minister, home minister, along with the Congress leadership and other party people. I think it is a befitting farewell because, as I said earlier also, ironically, in his death, he has become a symbol of unity, even for those hours. I hope it will not only be just those few hours.
Absolutely, ma'am. I also want to talk about a little bit of his tenureship as the Prime Minister. When he took over as the Prime Minister of this country, coalition politics was something that had started getting into Indian politics. We have seen that in the previous regime of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, then the UPA first and the second. What I want to understand from you, ma'am, is what lessons can be drawn from Dr. Singh's approach to coalition politics and his ability to build a consensus across party lines?
When the certain ministers were taken in who had a question mark against their, record, and he had protested. I remember he'd almost, somebody had told me at that time, senior Congress person, he took out a resignation letter and was persuaded, you can't at the outset of your term start to resigning. And then I think he developed he became a tougher personality and knew he had to take all these people along. And therefore, he depended a lot on the party, he depended a lot on Pranab Mukherjee to do things, and how to deal with Sonia Gandhi on the one hand, how to deal with with Pranab Mukherjee on the other hand, who used to address as Sir before he became Prime Minister and continued to address him as Sir even in private till Pranab Mukherjee told him not to do so. And Pranab Mukherjee would virtually conduct the cabinet meetings. And Prime Minister Manmohan Singh said very little at these meetings. But he knew that he was at the apex, at the head. He had to take all these forces along and not have the boat rocked. So I think that is what he probably swallowed many a bitter pill to be able to do that. But he kept it going for 10 long years. And this was not easy at all. So many elements in that coalition of UPA. East, the DMK wanting to do its own thing. And he's asserting. So, and even in Vajpayee's period, if you look back, he had to deal with a similar thing at the beginning of his 1998 term. So all these prime ministers who have led coalition governments have learnt, how important it is to take everybody along.
Absolutely. And ma'am, we have been talking about him as an economist, as a statesman. I also want to understand from you, how did Dr. Singh's government at that point of time address social welfare and education? What initiatives were implemented in order to improve healthcare and literacy rate? Because these are few things that not a lot of people talk about.
I remember as Prime Minister at the 15th August ramparts of the Red Fort, he talked about malnutrition is a national shame.
True.
And they set up a group, but it wasn't very effective. But certainly in terms of the laws that were brought in, which were mooted really by the National Advisory Council led by Sonia Gandhi, which was the right to information, which is the right to work, Manrega, 100 days of work, and he realized the importance of that. But and of course, right to food was a very difficult one, a very controversial one, which took a long time and came in his second term. But he questioned the money part of it. It's not that he was immediately for it. Yeah. And sometimes people used to say that Montek Singh Ahluwalia and P. Chidambaram were the front for Dr. Manmohan Singh when they raised questions about these schemes. But the bottom line is that they went along with what was proposed. And therefore, and then the 60,000 crore waiver to the farmers, which brought them back to power in 2009. So overall, whatever be the differences within the government, and he had reservations on some of them coming from a different perspective of fiscal prudence and so on. He was the person under whose stewardship this rights-based approach was implemented by the UPA and the Congress party. So he will be remembered for that as much as for anything else.
Absolutely. And ma'am, speaking about promoting India's interests, not just nationally, but on the global stage as well, just give us a sense of the role of Dr. Singh as far as that is concerned, and how can his approach be emulated as far as foreign policy is concerned?
Look, foreign policy, with the neighborhood, he reached out. He believed, again like Vajpayee, that if it could be a breakthrough with Pakistan, breakthrough with, a solution to Kashmir. And again, it is with the US, of course, the Western world. It was a completely new relationship. And with George Bush, he had a rare chemistry. George Bush used to said at a dinner, he has a calming influence on me, and told bureaucrats in his entourage, he's my friend, take care of him. And he'd tell his own people, when they reached, when they encountered obstacles in the way of the nuclear deal, he would say, what does Dr. Manmohan Singh want? So they, national interests of respective countries is of course supreme when you come to having understandings and deals to go through. But if you have this kind of a chemistry which Dr. Singh had with George Bush, then the way was smoothened. And the reason why George Bush liked Dr. Singh was that he was erudite, scholarly, but humble and very unassuming. So that part of his personality that we are talking about today so much is what made for his appeal.
Right. And, many would say that we are taking a very different approach at this point of time when it comes to dealing with our neighbors. And, when you look at Dr. Manmohan Singh and the way he approached these things, and especially India's relationship with the neighboring countries, what can we learn from that so that we can have better ties with our neighboring countries? Because strategically, that is also very important.
I think it is very important because you don't choose your neighbors, you have to live with them. And that is a reality that most people have to contend with. Now, Dr. Manmohan Singh didn't have to win an election. The responsibility for winning an election for the Congress party was not his. So he could get on with things that he felt were very important for the country. For others, whether you do Pak bashing or China bashing at a particular time to cater to your domestic constituencies and vote banks, he didn't have to worry about that one. So he could take a much more of a holistic view of what needed to be done. And I think that's where he was coming from.
Right. In fact, I've also got my colleagues Sunil Prabhu as well as Nazir Masoodi there. Sunil, just take us through what exactly is happening at the moment. What we are seeing is the last rites have taken place at the Nigambodh Ghat. Just take us through what exactly transpired today.
The final journey is over. Dr. Manmohan Singh's mortal remains have been consigned to flames, and it's an end of an era. It's an end of an entire journey for modern India. Post 1991, Dr. Manmohan Singh, with his economic reforms, with the then Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao's support, and the Congress party, ushered in a huge amount of strategic changes in India's economic policy, criticized at that time by the then opposition, and the rest, of course, is history. Every successive government, whichever it was, be it the National Front, be it the United Front, be it the National Development led by Atal Bihari Vajpayee, everybody followed the same principles of economic liberalization, one way or the other. In fact, I think Dr. Manmohan Singh's the UPA one was to even take along and deal with very important developments in terms of economic liberalization during the first tenure, 2004 to 2009, which helped modern India to carry on forward the entire economic liberalization movement and that entire process. So it's in that backdrop that not only did he concentrate on giving us a great GDP in those years, overall nearly 10 7.8, which is something commendable. It's clearly something that he started off in terms of ensuring India's space in the international arena, be it the nuclear suppliers group or the Indo-US nuclear deal. He was able to get those waivers to ensure that India's future, power requirements would be met, and that India's nuclear winter, apartheid, as I would call it, in those years from foreign countries would be lifted. So it's been a long road, and as you could see in those visuals, there were neighboring countries, the King of Bhutan coming down specially for this, as well as the Prime Minister of Mauritius and others. This is the Finance Minister. They are cutting across, as we saw somebody from Malaysia. Dr. Manmohan Singh has been in the helm of affairs from 1991. There are many finance ministers who he helped, who he saw go through troubles, and they even offered, support to them. So for them, it's clearly somebody who really was able to negotiate a very critical aspects of India's economic policy. More importantly, as India and the world faced the 2008, the Lehman Brothers crash, and the entire issue and the emergence of G20 at that time, the world looked at Dr. Manmohan Singh for his stellar, stewardship and his statesmanship on how to revive and to tackle that important aspect. In fact, no less than the former president of the United States of America, Barack Obama, calling him my guru. So that's the kind of standing that Dr. Manmohan Singh had, not only internationally, but within nationally, cutting across party lines. Whatever the views that he got from various political people, all of them understand that here was a man who was simple, humble, extremely polite, and rare to find in Indian politics. He would never lose his shirt or lose his cool. He knew what needs to be done and how it should be done, and that was the man that he was.
Absolutely, and this is something that you can say is a rarity in Indian politics at this point of time. Nazir, we saw people from all walks of life, people from all different political parties coming together to pay their last respects to Dr. Singh. Speaks a lot about his ability to build that consensus across party lines.
Exactly, and his motto remains, may have been consigned to flames, but his legacy will live on. And the way everybody is paying homage, paying respect, remembering his contributions, immense contributions to the country and every part of the country, every person who knows about him or who personally knows him, talking about, even when he was Prime Minister, there was a touch of humility, decency. And that is something that sets him apart. And when it comes to Jammu and Kashmir, and then by extension, relations with Pakistan, for 10 years, Dr. Singh did whatever was possible to ensure lasting peace. Because it was not any love for any country or person, but he knew it's India's national interest. Because for him, as Nirja was talking about, that he was not a career politician, and the whole interest was about the country, nation, how it will help India in the long run, besides the political theatrics. So he did whatever was possible, made some important initiatives within the Jammu and Kashmir, and outside Jammu and Kashmir. He knows the situation here has external influences, and he wanted to address them. He also knew that while the whole discourse may be about resolving Kashmir issue is the just part of Jammu and Kashmir, he also knew that it's also the other part of Kashmir which is under the control of Pakistan. Right. And there needs to be a negotiation, talks on that, how to resolve that as well. So that's why we know that 4-point formula. Right. We also know that what Satinder Lama has been talking about, they had reached this final agreement as well. So Dr. Singh would be remembered for so many things when it comes to Kashmir, whether it was return of Kashmiri Pandits, giving them employment under Prime Minister's special employment package. It was helping youth of Jammu and Kashmir to pursue higher studies by ensuring special Prime Minister's scholarship scheme, which has helped thousands of students from Jammu and Kashmir. So that's how the Dr. Singh would be remembered in Jammu and Kashmir.
Absolutely. In fact, while India is paying homage to Dr. Manmohan Singh and paying their condolences and tributes to Dr. Manmohan Singh, politics has emerged over the memorial. It is BJP versus Congress over Manmohan Singh's memorial. BJP says that the government has agreed for the memorial request and that Congress is now playing politics. The centre also said that the memorial space will be allocated. The government has in fact released a fact sheet regarding the memorial. The Congress in the meanwhile and the Punjab leaders said that the cremation at Nigambodh Ghat was a shocking practice that was ended by the UPA government in 2013. In fact, Dr. Singh led the UPA government, blocked separate memorial demands. Remember, in 2013, UPA cabinet decided to set up common memorial ground, the Rashtriya Smriti Sthal at the Rajghat. Let's listen in to some of the reactions.
Point, I mean, unnecessary controversy about the memorial.
It's avoidable, and I think the onus of avoiding these controversies lies at the doorstep of the government.
You feel that the memorial...
Obviously. I mean, he's the greatest, one of the greatest sons of India.
कांग्रेस पार्टी की नेहरू गांधी वाड्रा परिवार को ये जवाब देना चाहिए कि डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह का जब वो देश के प्रधानमंत्री थे तो एनएसी के तहत क्यों कांग्रेस पार्टी की सोनिया गांधी जी ने अपमान किया था। कांग्रेस पार्टी को ये जवाब देना चाहिए कि सरदार पटेल के स्टैचू का उसने क्यों विरोध किया था। गांधी वाड्रा परिवार ये डाइजेस्ट नहीं कर सकता कि कांग्रेस पार्टी से कोई भी दूसरे व्यक्ति को या किसी भी दूसरे नेता को उतना सर्वोच्च सम्मान मिले जितना कि नेहरू गांधी वाड्रा परिवार खुद को देना चाहता है।
New day, new show, a new experience. Start your day with the news, not views. We bring you stories that matter and impact your lives. News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From Maximum City, Mumbai,
To the seat of governance, Delhi, NDTV brings to you the best breakfast show. The breakfast show only on NDTV 24/7 every morning at 8 a.m.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number 1 in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
We are able to maintain the democratic fabric and the democratic system.
I want to do something that can make a difference.
लगातार जनता की आवाज को सरकार तक पहुंचाने का काम मैं करता हूं.
I was a student up until very recently. I really want to work and do something for my people because they have given me this opportunity. They have elected me.
सोचा नहीं था कि राज्यसभा सांसद बनूंगी.
Mahakumbh, a festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival. The divine dip at the spiritual Sangam. A sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
NDTV shines with 38 prestigious wins at the News Television Awards 2024. Powerful journalism to cutting-edge digital innovation, production excellence to regional leadership. NDTV sets the benchmark. 38 awards, each a testament to your trust in NDTV. NDTV stands for trust. In today's interconnected world, India's voice is more crucial than ever. When India speaks, the world listens. At NDTV World, we are that voice, bringing you intelligent and insightful news from India and beyond. From geopolitics and diplomacy to economic shifts, migrations, tech disruptions, and the stories of our diaspora. We cover the news that shapes our global future. NDTV World, your new home for global news is here.
This week on India Ascends.
Will Myanmar's junta chief see the same fate as Syria's Bashar al-Assad? Beijing in limbo as Xi's purge extends to his own men. How Trudeau's own misgivings are likely to become his end. And broken souls in a broken system, why young Wall Street bankers are getting by using ADHD pills.
All this and more only on India Ascends with me, Gauri Dwivedi, at these timings on the NDTV network.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Mahakumbh, a festival of faith. The world's biggest spiritual festival. The divine dip at the spiritual Sangam. A sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Welcome back. The Enforcement Directorate has summoned Bharat Rashtra Samiti Party working president and former minister KT Rama Rao along with senior IAS officer Arvind Kumar and former HMDA chief engineer BLN Reddy in connection with the Formula E race case. KT Rao has been asked to appear on 7th of January while Arvind Kumar and BLN Reddy, they are scheduled to appear on the 2nd and 3rd respectively. The probe is being conducted under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act based on an FIR filed by the Anti-Corruption Bureau. Time for a very short break. More news and updates on the other side.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 50 Pro, world's first AI-powered pro-grade camera.
Jammu and Kashmir sees heavy rainfall as Dodas could be seen covered in a blanket of snow as the area receives heavy snowfall.
(2024), the year that was, when India welcomed Ram. When India decided,
मैं नरेंद्र दामोदर दास मोदी,
when Jammu and Kashmir turned a historic leaf.
As Chief Minister for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir.
When India mourned. When India celebrated. When India protested. When India felt proud. When India scaled new highs. NDTV brought it all to you. Your trusted news destination. Yesterday, today and tomorrow.
A very warm welcome to the first edition of the NDTV Emerging Business Conclave 2024.
MSME विभाग एक महत्वपूर्ण विभाग है.
We have to think about what is brand India. India will always stand for democracy. We will always be one of the largest investors in the world.
It is also very, very important that these MSMEs grow.
We are seeing that women are coming up in many other sectors apart from the traditional sectors.
New day, new show, a new experience. Start your day with the news, not views. We bring you stories that matter and impact your lives. News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai, to the seat of governance, Delhi, NDTV brings to you the best breakfast show. The breakfast show only on NDTV 24/7 every morning at 8 a.m.
NDTV proudly upholds its legacy of trust and credibility. According to the prestigious Reuters Institute's Digital News Report 2024, NDTV is the top-most news platform in the country. Number one in both online and offline reach in India. Beating all its competition, NDTV stands for trust.
We are able to maintain the democratic fabric and the democratic system.
I want to do something that can make a difference.
लगातार जनता की आवाज को सरकार तक पहुंचाने का काम मैं करता हूं.
I was a student up until very recently. I really want to work and do something for my people because they have given me this opportunity. They have elected me.
सोचा नहीं था कि राज्यसभा सांसद बनूंगी.
Mahakumbh, a festival of faith, the world's biggest spiritual festival, the divine dip at the spiritual Sangam.
a sacred confluence of faith, culture and heritage. NDTV's mega coverage of the Mega Fest. NDTV at Mahakumbh 2025.
NDTV shines with 38 prestigious wins at the News Television Awards 2024. Powerful journalism to cutting-edge digital innovation, production excellence to regional leadership. NDTV sets the benchmark.
Ladies and gentlemen, taking the flow of this event forward, of course, we have two visionary leaders here with us. An extraordinary journey, a true testament of coming together of values and vision. And I think this is just the perfect note for me to invite onto this dais the chairman of Hero Enterprise, Shri Sunil Kant Munjal, to deliver the welcome address at the 17th edition of BML Munjal Awards.
Let me add my welcome to all of you for this special evening, especially to Piyush Ji, Minister for Commerce and Industry, Government of India. I also want to thank our guest of honor, Shri Amitabh Kant, India's Sherpa to the G20. Thank you very much, Mr. Kant, for making the time. You have been both an ideas man for India and an actions man for India. As you just heard, the BML Munjal Awards started in 2006, when we had 25 companies apply for the awards. Over a period of time, it has become truly a highly coveted award, and we have hundreds of companies every year who make a pitch to be considered for the award. So these awards from day one were designed to pick companies which focus on people as a part of their main strategy of the business and whose business ends up benefiting from this. So we have two different events we are trying to achieve in a short period of time this evening. One is to give away these awards to companies who have been shortlisted and selected. And second is to release a book that I had written some years ago. 2019, I wrote the book, The Making of Hero. And that book became a bestseller in week one and won the Tata LitFest Award 2 years later. Because of COVID, everything else stopped. So the communication around the book also had to be done remotely. Last year was my father's centennial of his birthday. So we published the book, other than in Hindi, also in Gujarati and Marathi. Today, we would like you to release the book in Braille, for the Hindi version of Braille, for those who are unable otherwise to get access to knowledge of this nature. So unlike the other books which were sold, this book will only be given as a gift to any institution, any library, any organization that works with or focuses on those who are visually challenged or completely blind.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for this very special unveiling. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for doing the honors. And now I request you to please join me for the award ceremony. And as already highlighted, it takes a lot to win a BML Munjal Award. As I announce the winner in the very first category, that is Private Sector Manufacturing category. And this goes out to TVS Motor Company. And we have a runners-up in the public sector category. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep your applause going as we have Hutco coming on stage to win the prize in the public sector category. Many congratulations to Hutco for the runners-up in public sector category. The winner under the public sector category, ladies and gentlemen, all hands put together. Let's cheer for ONGC Videsh Limited. Next, we're moving to the category of emerging stars, and this one goes out to Oyo. We're moving into the sustained excellence category, and the winner is HPCL. Many congratulations to HPCL for bagging sustained excellence category. And the last award in this set, ladies and gentlemen, is a very special mention by jury going out to Tata 1MG. Ladies and gentlemen, with the